welcome to Armada's final match this evening. It's been an exciting lead up, but with me I have Jim, and we're getting ready to start. Do we know who our players are, Jim?
Yes, Andrew. We just saw Ick he was able to pull off a win in the semifinal match, and his opponent is going to be Nathan Koda, who is from the United States. So we have a U.S. and Canada final matchup, and we're going to be able to take a look here at the different squadrons brought up. So let's go ahead and take a look and see. We knew that Ick had the fighter build that was very heavy in terms of bombers, being commanded by the Yavaris, using the VCXs to relay information, use the relay command to get those squadrons up. So I think we kind of know what this squad, what this fleet is going to do.
Oh, yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if he deploys it any differently than he did last time, because we have a very similar opposing fleet, if I remember correctly. Can we have a look at that?
Yeah, we're going to take a look here at Nathan Koda's fleet. So you see the one major difference that sticks out right off the bat is that MC-80 command cruiser.
Yeah, we've got a very large ship in this fleet, which is a little bit different than his last opponent. Before we were seeing a lot of smaller ships, so this is a whole new table dynamic here in the finals.
Yeah, that's that. I'm assuming we're going to see kind of take command of the battlefield. He's going to have to utilize that and definitely keep it away from those squadrons. We saw what happened when a big ship tried to avoid those squadrons, and it didn't quite work out.
Well, and a big difference with this list too is we're looking at some YT 1300s as opposed to 2400s, and that means we do have escort on the field as well. So they will take up a lot of damage for his other squadrons and keep him safe.
Well, it does look like, I mean, you've got the Scourge H6 bomber. You see the 10 Nub Gold Squadron also in this list. So it also looks like Nathan's also running a fairly heavy bomber list.
Oh yeah. It will be a very interesting matchup because we have very heavy bomber on both sides here, ready to really lay into each other. The big difference, as you said before, is of course that MC-80, and this really highlights the amount of small ships, of course, that we'll see Ick have out on the field.
Yeah, definitely going to have to keep those out of the command cruiser's range. The other thing to note here, you're only looking at Nathan having 4 activations to Ick 6. So that's a significant difference and can really play a big factor in the upcoming match. That's
right. Yeah, it will be a very different game up and coming. I'm very excited to see exactly how it unfolds. It looks like they are still getting ready.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting ready, looking over lists, getting information. Nathan did have a 3-point underbid, so he is going to be able to decide which of these. Does he want to be player? Does he want to be the first player? Does he want to be the second player? With only 4 activations, going first would be nice, but then you just let it kind of run the field at the end of the round, and I don't know that's the best choice.
That's right. Yeah, you're going to have to try to pepper yourself between those activations. So he's probably going to go for second, which means he will get to pick, or the opponent will get to pick his objectives, right? Yep,
and it looks like what we have here is fighter ambush, which I believe is one of Nathan's objectives. So Nathan is choosing to go first.
Wow.
And then that's going to give Ick the choice here of fighter ambush, which you want to go ahead and let the viewers know what that is?
Yes, I will inform you of the setup first and the special rule. The special setup is before deploying fleets, the second player sets aside all of his squadrons. After deploying fleets, the second player deploys all of his squadrons. Each of his squadrons can be placed as normal or at distance 1 of an obstacle. But all of his squadrons must be beyond distance 5 of the first player's edge. So in other words, he can deploy throughout the battlefield is what it looks like. And the special rule is after a squadron performs an attack against a ship, if the defender is dealt at least 1 damage card, the squadron's owner gains 1 victory token. So that's actually a very intense point trade-off in there. We're going to see more... I guess more of a point play in this game than we have before.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think, looking at the 2 fleets, Do you think that favors one side or the other? With the amount of squadrons being used, do you feel like that's kind of going to be a toss-up in a matter of how these two players put that together?
You know, I actually think it's pretty even right now, looking at how they're standing, because we have one list that is very focused on defending its bombers, it looks like, that can come in and strike it up real well, and then we have a very aggressive bomber-focused list. So the difference there might actually really spark an interesting match. We might kind of have a yang and yin effect going on between those two sides battling it out with each other. So we ought to see a pretty even amount of tokens, I would think, traded off between them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And we can see them setting up. You see there Ick on the right side from Canada. He's taking a look at the objective, making sure he understands all the nuances of it. And we start to see now it's going to be first placement here for the asteroids, for the obstacles. So no, actually, it does look like then, is this is coming from, we've got Ick here placing these additional obstacles here. Looks like there's a lot of, that's going to clog up the center. Do you think that this is going to be, that's going to kind of split the battlefield, right?
I think that's the goal, is to try to keep that MC-80 on one side and all of his ships on the other. Is to try to split the battlefield in the middle there. It'll be interesting to see if he does, though. They might be trying to create kind of like a weave going on where you have to move between all of the asteroid fields.
Certainly. So yeah, no, actually now looking at it with the way that the asteroids are being placed, I believe that means that Ick is actually player one. Because we saw Nathan place the first obstacle, which is player two. So,
and of course he's trying to place the obstacles in a spot that is advantageous for his squadron placement.
Certainly, yeah, that's a good point. It's amazing to me. It's always been with the way Armada plays out in these this kind of turn zero, as I call it, where you have this this position where there's so much strategy and thought process into even just this part of the game before any ships hit the battle, hit the table, or even before deployment, this is part of the strategy.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Turn one, or turn zero, as you call it, is a big determiner. You've got all that pre-game setup, and it's always so different to see how different players decide to set up the obstacles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is the battlefield you're creating, which makes every game unique and different, but also makes every game its own challenge.
You see there, Ick is taking a look again at the objective, making sure he understands how the points are going to play out. I do think it does. He has a fleet that can take advantage of that as well. So I think that was a good pick on his part.
Yeah, and with first deployment, we see he is indeed first player.
Yes.
So Ick is going first, and Nathan will be placing next. It looks like he's getting his big ship out there.
That's interesting. Just going to put it out. I mean, he only has the 4 activations. He knows that Ick can essentially put his he can activate or he can put out his squadrons to kind of delay putting out any of his meaningful ships early. So I think this is Nathan just saying, nope, this is where the battlefield is going to be dictated. You come to me, and I'm not afraid of you. That's a very bold placement right off the bat.
It is. In fact, it ought to be rather exciting to see what he does. And especially to see how Ick responds, whether he's going to go for an attack sort of focus all of his ships on coming in on that MC-80, or if he's going to try to swing around back and stay as far away from it as possible.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and we see here even just making the tiny measurements. It's amazing how millimeters in this game are so important.
Oh, no kidding. Let's see, what is it exactly we have on that MC-80 that he's running?
So if we can take a look at the lists again, we'll bring up all of that's on the MC-80. We'll be able to see that whole list of what exactly is on Nathan's fleet, because he does have it pretty well loaded.
Yes. From what I'm remembering, there's there we go. It's General Riken, Strategic Advisor. That's a lot of high points, quad battery turrets, leading shots, and a lot of good firepower coming in for that ship.
Yeah, I expect that to get into the thick of things fairly quickly and try to disrupt the smaller fleet of Ick.
An interesting choice we see is the fighter coordination team on that ship. I think that means he's planning on using it to lead his squadrons a little more than I would have thought in MC-84. But that's probably why he went with the command variant.
Certainly, yeah. The usually you think of those ships as the ones throwing the concentrate fire commands and really maximizing the potential it has in terms of firepower. So yeah, it is a little surprising seeing fighter coordination team on there. For those of you who may not know, the fighter coordination team is after you execute a maneuver, you may select a number of unengaged friendly squadrons up to your squadron value at close to medium range. Those squadrons may move up to distance 1.
And that's going to be really helpful with the YT-1300s with their measly speed of 2. I guess not all of them live Millennium Falcon, huh? So you're looking at keeping those real close and tight with your other squadrons with that ability to move them forward.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. It allows him to kind of keep everything seems to be all the other squadrons in that list seem to be moving at speed 3, and you don't want those YT-1300s, especially with escort, kind of lagging behind that.
Mm-hmm. Now this is an interesting setup if you look at the way he's got his GR-75s lined up. You can bet he's probably activating them first.
Yeah, otherwise he's going to be running it over, at least running the one on the bottom of the screen over. So yeah, that one's definitely going to go beforehand. We see some speed dials being placed. Can't quite make it out, but we'll see as soon as the movement tools come out. We'll know how fast they're moving.
Oh yeah, as soon as they activate them, we'll be more than aware of their speed. It's kind of exciting right now not to know. But one thing we see with Ick is he's got his squadrons he's putting out there first. He seems to be baiting Nathan into putting all of Nathan's larger ships out before he even starts. So he might have a superior setup.
Yeah, Nathan doesn't seem to be too concerned about it. He also could have put squadrons out, but I think he wants to actually. I think it's the other way of. All those squadrons from Ick are definitely going to be the placement of that's going to be so important.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with those. You can tell that Ick is anticipating all of those squadrons coming out at once because he's clumped his squadrons up in the middle so much. So it will be interesting to see how he spreads them out from there. I'm not entirely sure what he's got up his sleeve.
Yep. Now it looks like the Yavaris is coming out here. The rest of Ick's fleet. It looks like now he's going to place all these out here. And if you look at both lists are running the Yavaris, which definitely shows a heavy focus on the way that their bombers function.
Yeah, that's true. And it looks like one of the lists, Nathan's list, is running strategic advisors, which does allow him the skip on an activation.
Yes, yeah, that is going to be key with only the four ships for activating. It allows him to utilize strategic advisor to kind of delay a moment for to see what it is that Ick does and kind of force him to have a little bit more going on. It's not quite as bad as a 6-4 activation swing. It really becomes more of a 6-5.
Oh yeah, no, I think that will even the playing field for activations a lot more. It's interesting to see the similarities between these fleets as they go up against each other, and also to note how different they are with those hammerheads.
Yeah, as we saw in the previous game, Ick has a lot of experience controlling a lot of these smaller ships, but it's going to be very key for him to keep those hammerheads, keep those smaller ships out of range of the MC-80. That ship just has so much potent firepower that you could watch a ship disintegrate in a very quick amount of time, very few shots.
Oh yeah, most certainly. And it looks like we're about ready to see all of Nathan's squadrons come out on the field.
So how do you think this is going to play out? Where do you think, where would you place them?
You know, if I were going to be Nathan and I was putting them out on the field right now, I would probably do something similar to what Ick has done with his gathering them all into one central place. Because Ick did that, it's such a well-fortified central part of the battlefield that I think if you spread your squadrons out too much, they can get pecked off very quickly.
Certainly. Yeah, and we have seen Ick separate his squadron to go after multiple targets in the previous match, but I think that we did see him start in this cluster. We see him kind of not kind of tip his hand as to which direction he's going to go first.
That's true. Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how Nathan combats that.
And Nathan is analyzing very closely all the different fighters, making sure he understands the capabilities of each of them. He's asking questions. You can see him pointing various questions. Who has Rogue? Rogue, of course, meaning that those fighters are going to be able to both move and attack during the squadron phase, where normally fighters without Rogue will be unable to do that. So for new players, that might be a tidbit to keep in mind.
Most certainly. Well, and it looks like he's doing everything he can to make sure he's got kind of a blueprint or a layout of what its current fleet is set up to do and where every single ship is. And oh, he's drawn in close with that YT-1300 there. It does have escort, so that will be taking most of the fire, and that's probably why it's as close as it is.
Yeah, that makes me think that you're going to see some fighters escort, or without escort, some of his other fighters kind of be around that, because it's obviously going to take that initial hit, but it's going to require that if. So the only reason you put that close is to make sure that you're protecting something.
Oh yes. Oh, most certainly. I'm interested to see what is going to happen with those YT-1300s. It's very interesting to see how different players play, because the last round I don't believe we had any dice rolled or shots fired until almost the third round of the game. Mm-hmm. And yet here we are right now with what's basically a guaranteed shot at the beginning.
Yeah, and it looks like second placement. Can't quite make out that fighter. I'm sure we'll get a read on it here shortly. Making very precise choices for distance. Is that another?
It appears to be another YT
1300. And then triangulating that with, that looks like it's the Moldy Crow with Jan Ors.
I believe so.
Just based on that silhouette. So
it's a very distinctive silhouette.
Yes, it is. Also, since deployed in the it looks like this, a little bit off center, but still looks like it's fully in that asteroid. So it's going to be able to take advantage of obstruction for anything firing at it.
That's true. Yeah, it's in a spot where it can move pretty quickly after that to anywhere it wants to go and still be fairly defended this round. And there's another one.
And you can see here Nathan has a very specific plan. You can see he's measuring very precisely. This is the distance that I want the next ship to go. And then from there, the next ship. He's triangulating the exact position. It feels as though he's done this before. And so again, we are watching our final match for the Star Wars Armada here at Fantasy Flight Games for the store. This will determine the world champion, and they will get, in addition to being crown champion, they'll have the best prize in all of gaming. They'll be able to work with the developers of the game to create a new card for future content. So it's a pretty prestigious honor.
Yeah, and I imagine both of them will be trying to get a Rebel card regardless at the looks of their fleets here.
Yeah, definitely some Rebel fans. We saw that top four was an entirely Rebel-dominated top four. So, of course, that means we've got our two Rebel players here. Yeah, I expect Rebels to be on the top of their minds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've got a very... As a matter of fact, I wonder how different their design ideas would be with both of them running very similar fleets. You think they might have the same ideas for what sort of cards they want, too?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we still have some of this fighter placement. Nathan being very, very precise and specific in his placements.
Yeah, we're almost out of placements, though, so we'll be into the action soon here.
Yeah, it looks like... Now, this is, as much as escort is nice, and the YT-1300s do have the 7 health versus the 2400s we saw in the previous match with the 6 health. But it does still feel like being that close to all those fighters can be really scary.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of frightened for him here because I don't think he's running bigs. So
yeah, no, I don't see bigs on the list.
Because if he was running bigs, he'd be able to do that nice redistribution of the damage points to the other escort ships. But without bigs, I'm curious to see what his plan is. He might just be using them to bait the squadrons forward at this point.
Sure. Yeah, this makes me almost wonder, does this mean that we're going to see, do you expect the Yavaris to be moving pretty quickly into position to be able to take advantage of the Yavaris ability on those squadrons?
I kind of expect to see both of the Yavarises move forward pretty quickly. The benefit of placement here, of course, goes to Nathan's Yavaris because it will be able to pop into that medical center and kind of stand an obstructed shot here with where it's placed. Whereas I think the other Yavaris would have some asteroids in the way, and it would have a harder time getting to a safer vantage point on the field. Of course, right now the medical center is rather taken with squadrons. But
yeah, that's definitely a full medical center.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll clear out of there pretty quickly.
So it looks like this is the final squadron placement. Nope, it looks like there's one more back there.
Is there one more?
I
There
see
it
it,
is.
yeah, just underneath Nathan's arm there. I see one more hiding out. So should have this now. This setup is taking. So this is a 3-hour match. You see the timer there in the bottom middle of the screen. So we've got about 15 minutes in. Still in the setup process. It's so important to make sure that this. So many games could be potentially won or lost in these moments before any ships activate. So it's so important to make sure you get them right, especially at this high level of play.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, I can think back on several of the games I've played, and I knew I'd lost in the setup phase. So this is a vital step, and especially this high in the championship, because you're doing everything you can to read your opponent, and of course they're doing likewise. And so you don't want to give away too much, but you need all your ships exactly where you need them, and even just a millimeter off, like you were saying, could change that firing arc. So these are the best of the best here, and I'm interested to see what exactly it is they've got up their sleeve.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks like Nathan is finished up here with his deployment. So we're going to see the first activation of the first round here. You get the handshake.
Handshake, all right.
And the final match for Star Wars Armada is underway.
Here we go.
And we saw a little bit of the way that it comes to play in those early rounds. There's a lot of measuring, making sure those distances are exactly what he's looking for before making any decisions.
It's true, and we're seeing some of that now, it looks like.
Yeah, I would expect at this point you would see all of those command dials are being dialed in now. You can see Nathan is starting to dial in his commands. I think Ick is making the decision to play some measurements out, see if those squadron commands are going to come out early, or if it's something that he can wait for and kind of worry more about positioning. But he didn't have to worry about this in the last game. He didn't have to worry about being threatened so quickly.
No, this is definitely a different layout to the battlefield. It's a whole different game going on. From when I came in the last match, I could tell that there had been quite a spread and the activity was a bit more of a slow build, whereas here we seem to have almost hit a crescendo this early on, and we'll see how well that's maintained throughout the course of this 2-hour and 30-minute battle.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how Ick responds to that kind of pressure. He was able to kind of dictate how the battlefield unfolded in the last match. So now he has to worry about a fighting force directly in front of him that is immediately threatening him. He's not going to have time to set up that positioning like he did in the previous game.
Oh, no, and I'd say he's got more larger threats that will be harder to navigate where he wants them to. Because we do have that singular large base ship as opposed to being able to kind of filter that threat through several smaller ships.
Well, and yeah, once in the previous game, once the profundity dropped, he was able to kind of focus fire, lean very heavily into making sure his bombers were in place. If the command cruiser, the MC-80 command cruiser, is going to be his target, he's going to have to go through an entire wave of fighters first, and he didn't have to contend with that before. So I'm really interested to see how he reacts to that.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Well, and all of the fighters he's got to go through have amazing fighter support back behind them. So it'll be a tough wall to pass through on his part.
So bloodbath early on, is that what we're predicting?
Oh, I'm thinking so. And I look forward to seeing all those dice rolls.
Absolutely.
It looks to me they've got some pretty sparkly dice, too. So we'll get to see some glam going on in the tray here.
So it looks like we're getting that first activation on the medium transports.
Which officially begins the game here.
Yep.
Our first round. It's only uphill from here.
We should see the command dial there. And so, yeah, it looks like we've got a squadron command right off the bat. Going to, wasting no time to begin the chess match of fighters.
And I am not surprised in the slightest. I think that was a very safe thing to have as your command dial this first round. For either parts, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that on almost every ship this first round.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So as you can see the very precise measurements. This is so key.
Yes. Well, and that ship's... we don't know what speed that's moving yet, but we will in a minute.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to, looks like, make sure that the ship firing he wants to make sure that what he's attacking is exactly what he gets. With those escorts, you have to be very precise in where you land. 2 hits, the accuracy.
Oh, well, that's still 2 hits. That's not bad. To roll three blues and get 2 hits.
And then, of course, the
counter
1 that all the YT 1300s have. So it's such a great combo when you've got that on one single card. The I'm going to soak damage for all the ships around me, and if you shoot me, which you have to because I have escort, I'm going to shoot you back.
No, they're a great little ship. Some of my favorite to run in this game, I would say.
Sure.
And
yeah,
looks like some of Nathan's favorite too.
Yeah, definitely looks like one of Nathan's favorite ships. And we'll see here. I think we're still waiting. He's checking to see where he wants it. It looks like the Yavaris is what he's considering. You can see some of the calculation going into that.
Yeah, I think the Yavaris would probably be a good thing to activate, depending on its exact location, because you could get in those nice double fires from where it's sitting.
So we've got a navigate command coming.
Oh.
It is coming, it looks like, out of the medium transport. So opting to get that medium transport in the range there.
And let's see how fast it's going. I would think a speed 2.
Yeah, that's probably a good guess. We'll be able to tell here momentarily. It looks like just a straight ahead shot. And we could probably anticipate that other medium transport will also be moving before we get to the MC-80, but
I hope so. It'll either move then or it'll move real fast afterwards. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially with the command cruiser only moving at speed 2, there's no way to just jump it. So it definitely is Nathan's definitely gonna want to move that first.
Let's see, we got some squadron action going on in the middle. Seems to be popping them in and out of the medical station.
And here comes the medium transport. Just a slight adjustment, it looks like. Make sure the placement is where he's going to want it to go.
Seems like they're really working to make the center of the map quite a hot spot this game.
Certainly. Yeah, no, this is definitely going to be a lot of action right up the center there. So that looks like it was a speed 3 move there.
Yeah, it must have been. That was quite a good distance to cover, and that means that little GR-75 flotilla is moving pretty fast. If he's not careful, next round he'll be halfway through the enemy fleet.
All right, so we have a navigate command here, it looks like, from Ick. And he's adding he's going to just take that as a token. So we'll add that token to his, is that Raiken's CR90?
It is. Coming in off the far side. He does only have one CR90, so luckily that's easier to keep track of. We had a couple going on the field last game, so it was hard to figure out what was going on every now and again. But this one, there are different models for everything, and it's all coming into place pretty nicely.
Yep, and it looks like Nathan has decided to use his strategic advisor to kind of wait out and see what Ick has planned for his other ships. So that will be his activation. He'll just pass using that. And we see one of the hammerheads start to move in.
We see a lot of small movement towards the middle at this point. I imagine they're trying to bait each other into getting there first.
Yeah, and we did see this a little bit with Ick early on in the previous match. He does tend to be very conservative in his movements at the beginning to kind of just slightly get into place, but not commit or overcommit based on what the opponent is doing. So here's that medium transport moving as we kind of predicted.
Getting out of the way. So it's a smart move. Be very intimidating to be in one of those right now. And we'll see. And actually, the MC80 is exactly where it wants to be for this match. It has the ability to swing wide and swing out right from where it's at to create a good field for that side arc. I don't think he's running gunnery teams, but it is nonetheless a very potent ship for that. Gunnery teams, for those of you who may not know, allows you to fire twice out of the same hull zone or firing arc. And no, he's not running gunnery teams.
So yeah, now it looks like we've got So the only thing, so if I'm Ick at this point, I think the decision has to be made. Do you start to if you know that the MC80 is going to be kind of coming in at that angle, do you then try to adjust the battlefield to be on the other side, to be basically on the north side for our viewers, above those asteroids and kind of take it out of the action?
Yeah, I think that is a tough call on that part. It is interesting to see the ships where they're at right now. I'm not sure, because if you try to focus the match too far on that northern side, you're running the chance that you'll just be exactly where he wants you in a pinned up spot too. So they might try to spread out, but then you've got the problem of being in multiple firing arcs.
Sure.
It's a very tough thing to deal with a large base ship when you're only small bases.
Yeah, I will be very curious to see how Ick deals with it.
I think those hammerheads will come into play though, for sure. It's a good ramming, lots of health.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we got just a little bit of a knock there, so just have to readjust, making sure that everything's where it needs to be.
Yeah, that is always really tough, getting your hands around some of those squadrons sometimes. They like to move. They are ready to go.
So yeah, as you can see, there's looks like the judge was brought in there for some clarification as to making sure that everything there is back in place. But yeah, it looks like Ick is deciding how he wants to use this squadron command. And if I saw him point correctly, I believe he's doing it out of the medium transports that's heading towards the battle.
I think you're right. I think that is exactly where he's moving. And he ought to be going pretty slow at this point, too, because he'll probably drop those transports back still behind those squadrons. If he goes a little bit too fast, he'll find himself running through those squadrons, and that could be bad.
Yeah, you don't want your, at that point, Nathan would be able to place those squadrons adjacent to, or, in base contact with that ship, and he'd probably just shove them all to the back and making it harder for them to get up and in position.
That's true. He might, yeah.
All right, so we have some fighter movement here.
Yeah, a bit of a surround sort of action going on here. He's spreading his squadrons maybe thin, but out in a good solid circumference around Nathan's squadrons.
And it looks like the silhouette there is a Y-wing.
I think you're right.
We do have a couple options for that. That could be Nora, that could be Dutch, that could be Gold Squadron. We'll have to see what kind of dice end up being rolled. That might help us. Trying to determine, I assume there's at least one escort in there. I imagine that this decision being weighed here is which escort to shoot at.
Yeah, that is a tough call. He's probably going to go for that front one, I think, as he's definitely within range of it. I can't tell if he's within range of the other escorts.
Yeah, the only one I could think of is the one that is near that medium transport here in the back.
Yep.
But I think it looks like it's just out of the range one that you would normally get.
It's tough because you want to do everything you can to probably get rid of those Scrug H6 bombers at his point with where he's sitting, just due to their spread and what they can do to a ship. But he has to go through all those escorts first.
Certainly. So yeah, you see the decisions being weighed, the pressure at this high level play. Always so impressed with their ability to maintain composure. So we have a navigate command here. Looks like that's going to be turned into a token for the MC80.
That's a good move, especially with the MC80 having quad battery turrets. And if you don't know what that is, it's a modification. But while an attacking ship with a higher speed than yours, you may reroll one of your attack die. So it's basically a reroll for your ship as long as you have a slower speed.
Sure. And it does look like that MC80 was moving at speed 1. So just inching into the battle, not overly committing. Again, I think that's probably something that we're going to, you always see in the first couple rounds. It's that figuring out how your opponent is playing, how aggressive, what their plan might be.
Yeah, it gets interesting to witness two people doing the same thing though for that, and both going slow, because then as soon as they both adjust, you're met with actually different plans going into play than what you saw before.
Sure.
Because you'll both be moving at a different speed. So it's always interesting to get to watch that and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, so you see some Ix explaining something, and Nathan's double checking, making sure he understands. Yep, he's moving. Looks like he's moving. That seems to be Corrin. One of the fighters fell off there. So he's going to get that put back on. But yeah, it looks like that's Corrin in his E-wings.
Yep, and that's still well within range, so that makes sense. It's a good spot for him, especially with his snipe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, I think he'll be obstructed with where he's at, but that's still 3.
Yeah, he's still rolling the 3 dice. I think that's how many I see in his hand. So
yep.
Yeah, he rolls the 3. Not great. Reroll. Yep.
That's still 1.
Just the 1. Yeah, I think he managed to be just. Yeah, the ship that picked up there was that. I think that was Jan Ors in the Moldy Crow, because of course Corrin able to shoot from distance 2 as opposed to distance 1, and I think that kept him out of range of those escort ships.
That's right. He's a very good card for that, keeping track of the escorts, and it would be real good for him to stay out of range like that too. Of course, with Jan Ors having the counter 2 she does if that squadron is within range 1 attacking normally.
Yes, good point. Yeah, that's one of the great things about Corrin, able to avoid those counters if he can get in position properly.
Yeah, he's got all sorts of tricks up his sleeve, that one.
So it looks like we're getting more ships kind of coming off here, but he's moving it. Can you tell what that is? Does it look like another Y-wing group?
I think it is.
So just the 1 damage. We've got the reroll. Nope, still holding just the 1. So it's going to be another point of damage off that YT 1300.
Well, at least Nathan's holding up to those little trickles of damage pretty well at this point. Yep. It is a little scary to only be rolling 1s, but the nice thing is that's still damage you're doing this early in the game.
Yeah, I am curious to see what the retaliation is going to look like when Nathan gets his squadrons rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Well, I mean, end on round 1 of 6. Like
sure.
there's a lot of game left for them to take those ships out.
Absolutely. So we see the calculation here. Nathan leaning in, trying to figure out angles, line of sight, distance.
This is a very compact battlefield, so there's going to have to be a lot of measuring just with how they put all of their ships in that one place in the middle.
Yeah, that definitely is going to make for an interesting match as the game goes on.
We see a squadron command.
Yeah.
Coming from that GR-75, I think.
I'm curious to see what the target is. This is going to be what this is going to end up being here. So this is Yavaris, and he's of course already has his fighters in place. So Yavaris is just going to allow those fighters to each shoot twice as they stand still. And since Ick has brought some of those fighters to the battle, into the fray, they're going to be the first targets.
Oh yeah, for sure. They do kind of, now they present an interesting thing to me, because it does look like Ick is trying to bring his ships up towards that side, maybe to open up the middle of the battlefield and push through. And he seems to be successful in that by moving those squadrons first up towards the north side.
So yeah, you hear the little bit of banter between the players as they play this final match for Star Wars Armada. So we get a little bit more zoomed in view here. Since the battle is so compact, we're able to kind of zoom in a little bit to the action. Of course, if it spreads out, we can always back up a little bit too. So this gives us a little bit better view of some of those squadrons.
Yes, it does. We can now actually kind of distinguish all of them from here. There are a lot of them to see up in the more eastern side of the mat there, so focused and clustered together.
Yep, and with Yavaris now, I believe that Nathan's Yavaris also has the flight commander, and that's going to allow him to resolve the squadron command after the maneuver. So it allows him to get a little bit closer, get those squadrons in range, and then from there be able to utilize their double attack from the Yavaris command, or from the Yavaris title.
And that is a wonderful card to have on Yavaris. It really accentuates his power strokes there.
Well, it almost plays perfectly into the idea that it's almost like he expected his opponent to play fighter ambush. It builds really well into this specific objective, because your fighters are innately going to start further away from the Yavaris. So allowing the flight commander to allow you to move first and then activate allows you to get up to those fighters.
It does indeed. It seems like a well-set trap on his part.
So the attack went off. We get the reroll. Only 1 damage here, so just slight damage coming through for both sides. Looks like that was on Corran Horn, and I expect another shot here come in.
He just pushed in the activation for us to show us that ship had indeed been activated.
So nope, nothing there. We get the reroll. Nope, still nothing. Second shot.
The second shot, so he's using Yavaris' ability to its maximum.
And
Jeez.
nothing. Nothing.
That is
sometimes,
tough.
Yep. Sometimes those squadron dice just, when you're firing at other squadrons with just the hits working out, that's just sometimes how it is. Dice games work that way, right?
Dice games do work that way. I always end up changing out dice after a roll like that with the same one after a while,
Certainly. So yeah, it looks like those are the 2 ships there with his squadron command. That's the, I didn't see a token being spent because he used the navigate earlier. So I think that would be the end of the Yavaris' turn here. But looks like Nathan's still measuring.
He might be checking distances for his next activation because the MC-80 is going to be coming out in a moment, I imagine.
Certainly. Yeah, the nice thing is so by going second, with Nathan going second and having Strategic Advisor, it essentially means that until a ship is lost, activations are literally going to go back and forth. No one's going to have a series of activations with which to kind of run the table at the end of a round the way that Ick did in the previous match.
That's true. That's true. Especially with the ships coming out as late as they did in the previous match. He really did have control of the field for the first 2 turns.
Looks here, you see him moving the squadron just to get proper, making sure that he can draw these line of sights, draw distances. Now, this is one of our longer matches that starts at 3 hours. We're down to 2 hours, 21 minutes. We're still in the first round. Do you worry that maybe the play of these two players is a little slow, or are you confident that as the round goes up, it'll speed up a little bit?
I think that right now what we're looking at is there are just so many squadrons and so many smaller ship activations on the field that I think it will especially pick up pace as we start to see those dwindle for either side, which is, of course, always exciting anyways. But I think that is our biggest thing right now is there are so many moving pieces and parts going on for this game. But I think if we give it a little bit, we will see it pick up pace a decent amount.
Certainly.
The last game actually did have even time to spare when it ended, so I'll be interested to see what time we end here.
Yep, so we've got the movement on that looks like he moved that fighter back.
Maybe spreading out the escorts a little bit.
Certainly, yeah, that makes sense. So that's the activation of the other medium transports. So now we have Squadron Command, and he's relaying it through the one of the VCXs.
That's right. That's a favorite move here, seeing that come into play.
Yeah, Ick used that to great effect in the last round, last match. I expect to see him to continue that that type of play.
And they're very good ships to have out and to have working in your favor. Those VCXs.
Yeah, they're definitely hardy ships with the eight hull. Definitely allows them to take some damage, so they can get into the thick of things, make sure they're relaying commands over to other squadrons. Yeah, no, that can be very effective.
Yeah, they're expensive though. They're worth their points at 15 cost.
Yep. So it looks like
we have a couple squadron activations happening. Looks like it's what's left of Ick's squadrons.
Yep, I believe he was using the Adar Talon there to switch the activation slider, so that's going to be available to attack at the end as well.
That makes sense.
So here comes the roll. 3 hits.
Ouch, that's very good.
That's a very good roll.
To a counter 1.
All right, so you see the 1 damage there. 3 more into that YT. I think I heard him say 1 more health left.
Oh, man.
Oh,
and there it is.
Get the reroll in. 2 hits. We do still get the counter 1 in, which will hit back. So counter been very effective, but that should eliminate that YT. Yep, that gets removed.
There he goes.
So one of the escorts are down.
Mm-hmm. They did their job, though. That is exactly what they're there for, is to concentrate fire and deal a little bit back.
Absolutely, and that's going to give 13 points to Ick, our first points of the match. So he takes the early lead, but of course we both know that that 13 points is going to be, I think, increased by both sides before this is over.
Oh, most certainly. So it is very much a game of points here in the finals, and the last game we saw get pretty close, so I'm very interested to see how this game goes. I expect there to be a lot more squadron action, a lot smaller point gains here and there than we saw in the previous one, but I think it's exciting to get to see another match unfold with a whole different sort of gameplay going on.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we see another attack here. Looks like 2 going through with a counter 1 back. And the other attack here. 3 hits. So get the reroll. Still no extra hits, so still continues to stay at 3. So it looks like he's poured 4 into that.
Must be the other Whitey.
Well, I think I saw a defense token flip. So I don't know if that's one of the named fighters there. Potentially Hera or Jan that attack was on.
Could have been. That makes sense. I don't know. I would target Hera pretty quickly and early on. She's a very powerful fighter and very expensive too.
Absolutely, yeah. 28 points. She comes in as one of the more expensive fighters. So we return back to Nathan's turn. The squadron battles have not disappointed. We've already seen how this is going to shape the coming battle, especially these early phases with the fighters starting that close together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I fully expect the winner of the squadron bloodbath here in the middle to have a lot of the upper hand in the next little bit. But they're both using their Yavaris to the full effect, that's for sure. We're really getting a good demonstration of that this game, the strength that Yavaris has with squadrons.
Absolutely, yeah. So it looks like, yeah, there's so many moments of contemplation, exactly how this is going to roll. So this looks like it's going to be another attack here.
Ooh.
Just the one.
It's a very accurate one, though.
It is, and yeah, that does look like it's at the escort there. I expect to see the counter roll.
I don't think it can because of the obstruction.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, with the obstruction, they lose the die.
Yeah.
So yeah, no counter.
So the squadron that shot at it up there, if you're watching, is the E-wing on the north-facing area, right by Ixan, and it's sitting on an asteroid belt, so it counts as obstructed, even though it managed to get off a couple bullets. Or plasma shots, I guess, not bullets.
Looks like we have a couple of E-wings falling off again, so getting those into position. It's so tight in there with all those squadrons, it's hard to just grab at the right point. It's easier to grab at the base, but yeah. So I think that is the next activation, because we are closing in here in the squadron phase, so we're almost done with the first round.
Moving right on into the second here, and that was actually not a very long round once they got things moving.
Yeah, no, they moved pretty quickly once the game started. So I feel like each round is going to kind of continue that pacing. So it looks like finishing up the last here. You can see our points updated. 13 points for Ick and Nathan. Still at 0, but I imagine a couple of those squadrons are a little light after a bunch of those counters from the YT.
Oh, for certain. I think that will allow quite the push through here up and coming, especially with Nathan being able to hold off his activations till later in the game to see where things are at. I think that's a good call with those strategic advisors.
Yeah, that really allows him to kind of stay, with 4 activations plus a strategic advisor, really be able to keep pace with a larger, with a wider fleet, right? With a fleet with more units, and allow him to kind of maintain activation consistency throughout the match.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, and one thing that's really nice about having that zoomed in camera is we get a really good look at the models they have in play on the field right now, which for this game are always very pretty.
Yeah, no, they the sculpts there are great. You can easily tell, the zoom in still isn't doing them fully justice, but yeah, the individual models for those fighters are great. Obviously, the ship models are phenomenal. It's one of those games where you just like to sometimes look at it on the table and really appreciate it. Even if you have never seen the game played, someone could walk by and notice, like, oh, that looks really great on the table.
Right, yeah, they're amazing paperweights if you don't have one already.
So we get the attack roll here. Looks like 1 damage was done. So Corrin is going to take the 1. Yeah, I think we're just leaving these the E-wings off as they fall. And
it's a very contested middle area right now.
Yeah, very much so. And I think you called that early on, that's kind of going to be how this battle will unfold, right? The center of the battlefield is going to kind of dictate how this goes. So just the 1. It's going to be another hit on Corrin. So starting to whittle him down. He does have 5 health to start.
Oh man, he is a tough cookie.
Now we're looking at, just making sure that all these things get in range. Now we're starting to triangulate positioning for probably one of the other YTs, right? Getting into position. So he wants to not only make sure that he places it where it's going to be the most effective as an escort, but also to draw fire from any of the ships. So it looks like he's going to be placing it around the same spot that other YT was at before it was destroyed.
That's right, and with 3 YTs, he does have a couple to go through. And the nice thing is with their low point costs, they can be fairly expendable while still dealing a lot of damage to their opponents. It's a good early game modifier to have for your squadrons.
And it looks like he's definitely putting that. That's essentially in the same spot. Looks a little closer to his fighters than the other one, but yeah, it gets to take all that fire from the from Ick's ships, and while leaving those ships that come in and attack exposed to return fire from the rest of the squadrons.
Oh man.
So yeah, we get the squadrons put back in place. He's got those handy markers to make sure that if he has to lift up the fighter to check something or do damage, it just goes right back and right back in the place that it was at.
Yeah, those really do work really well for keeping track of those.
And it looks like closing in on the end here.
We've got just a couple. I see a couple bits of blue left for him to activate on those squadrons. Maybe 3.
Oh, your eyes are way better than mine.
I think.
So just the one hit. We get the reroll in. So 2 hits. Corrin shouldn't be able to take too much more. I imagine one more hit will be the end of that fighter. You can hear the players talking back and forth a little bit. And it looks like we're going to get another shot off here.
Oh, man.
And it looks like it's going to be at Corrin.
Here
so
we go.
This could be the end of Corrin Horn. That is a 22-point ship, so not light on points.
No, it could in fact push Nathan just ahead of those 13 points there.
And here comes the roll. So the 2 damage, yep, that's going to be enough. Doesn't even worry about the reroll, and off goes Corrin Horn, and that'll be 22 points for Nathan, taking the lead now, 22-13.
Oh man, that was a good hit, and now we see the leapfrog effect as one squadron pushes them ahead of the others.
And I expect to see that a lot with the way that Nathan's playing his fighters. He uses those escorts as those front points to soak all that damage. And like we said, meanwhile, all of his other fighters kind of slide in to position to eliminate the next threat.
Yeah, and losing Corrin Horn that early on is a strong blow to the strength of the sniping abilities, and kind of easy way of getting around the YT 1300s.
Yeah, that was his counter to the escort. So I was curious as to why he moved it in so close, kind of making him the specific target for all of these attacks during the squadron phase.
Of course, maybe he was trying to hold the other squadrons back there too. That could have been his goal, was to keep them away from his other ships. Perhaps he is planning an offensive.
Yeah, you definitely. That's actually a good point, because you don't want to have all these fighters, instead of moving up now, we're basically pinned down into that position, and are potentially maybe back a little further than what Nathan wanted.
I could especially see that with Yavaris and his activations.
Right, exactly. Although, with the way that he's got the flight commander on there, he kind of expects his squadrons to leap forward a little bit during the squadron phase, and then use the Yavaris to shoot with him twice once they're in position. Now he's going to have to use one of those. Actions to move, so he's not going to be able to take as much of advantage as the Yavaris as he probably wants to.
Yeah, you see that really playing into Ixan there. One thing that is very interesting is it seems to be the counter, losing Corrin Horn there, to the escort ships we have up front firing back at Ick. So it kind of played a good balance game for the middle there.
Sure, nothing. And I wouldn't expect anything less from our 2 top competitors here in the final match.
That's right.
So it looks like we still have a couple of activations for Ick. trying to figure his way around those escorts, seeing if it's the best strategy to just lean into the escorts and just eliminate them as fast as you can in the hopes that eventually they'll be down and you can finish off the rest of the fighters, or do you try to work around it and find an angle in which you're not fighting the escorts and you're able to put some damage into some of the damage dealers back in Nathan's side of the board?
Yeah, you know, it is tough because you do have the 3 blue on those escorts. If left unattended, they can engage and fight on their own pretty well. So it's not necessarily something you want to go around, but it does depend on what Ick sees as his primary squadron goals.
So it looks like we got an attack here. So 3 damage on that one. I believe we have entered round 2 now.
With that first activation, I think you're right.
And the 1 counter, of course. That's again those. Anytime you're firing against those YTs, you know you're gonna possibly be taking that back. That blue dice on the counter has been really hot.
Yeah, actually, it has done him very well.
No, we see one of the fighters being pulled back, not wanting to stay engaged with those fighters. Something that Ick wants to protect going forward.
An interesting move, really. I don't know that we've seen Ick play that defensive with his squadrons up to this point. So.
Yeah, no, everything we saw previously was a very aggressive move. Everything was towards an objective, towards a target. That was definitely not something I anticipated.
Might be saving a couple of those squadrons for the fighter ambush, I would think, then.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. You definitely want any of the fighters that have the best chance of punching through a ship's shield and getting into the actual hull, dealing that damage, and getting that victory point token for 15 points.
Yeah, that was a very unique condition card that came with the Corellian conflict there. Quite the game changer when put to use properly, as we're seeing here.
Yep, absolutely.
And we're nearing into our 2nd hour of the game. Almost finished with our first. There's been a lot that has actually happened, despite the first 15 minutes being set up.
Yeah, and as you kind of talked about a little bit at the beginning, you predicted that especially a lot of this early game would be a fighter matchup. We haven't really seen too much from the capital ships yet. Everyone's just moved in fairly slowly, with the exception of Nathan's Yavaris. So everything just kind of moving in at a speed 1, getting a lay of the land, and letting the fighters do most of the heavy lifting here early.
Yeah, they seem to be watching from the back, kind of looming, you know, and that's it's a very dangerous thing for both fleets. I wouldn't want to be in the middle of that right now. Yeah,
this is definitely an intense fighter battle, and I think you were right earlier when you said that the victor of this kind of matchup is going to be what determines the rest of the battle.
And it looks like we lost that other YT 1300 now, so that is putting Ick ahead again at 26 points.
Yes. Yeah, and that's 2 of the 3 escorts down now. So the escort's getting whittled down fairly quickly here.
That one in the middle, though, is lone soldier holding his own. I hope he can hang on for a little bit here, but we will see. It seems his health bar is pretty full, from what I can tell on that stand.
Yeah, I don't think that ship has actually taken any. I don't think that fighter's taken any damage yet, because that was the move in to replace the one that was eliminated from that position before. So I think that what we're seeing here is Ick is trying to figure out. It looks like he's just going for those escorts so that he can then dictate the pace of fighter fights going forward.
Oh yeah, I imagine that's something that you would want to get rid of very fast if you were in his position. And I mean, the same can be said for Nathan. That is a brilliant way to combat squadrons early game.
Yeah, because you're going to be able to use. There are still fighter squadrons in position for his other fighters to be able to use the advantage of Yavaris. So it looks like we've got some die rolls. Looks like they bounced out of the tray, hit the floor. So if it's not in the box, we're getting a ruling from the judge. If it's not in the box, it doesn't count. So we're going to get rerolls here. 1 damage. So we're starting to see some damage put onto that final Escort YT-1300.
Oh, man. And it does look like from the lay of the match we're seeing here that as this round progresses and each ship activates respectively, the middle will get a lot more cluttered with larger ships and a lot more close combat. So I would expect by round 3 to see some serious hits on a lot of these larger, well, not larger ships, but the small base ships from each side.
Mm-hmm.
I do predict that MC-80 will be hanging back a little bit longer, though.
Do you think that, I mean, it's obviously the biggest, it's the biggest firepower that Nathan has. It's the most points in his fleet at 152 with all of those upgrades. You don't feel like he needs to get it into the fight?
That's a tough call. You know, I would personally charge in there myself, but I think, again, he probably has some sort of strategy I'm not seeing. And he does have that navigate token, so he can speed it up if he needs. But the tough thing with these quad battery turrets, when you can do a better damage to a higher speed opponent, is Ick is playing his ships very slow. So I don't think he's going to get that extra bonus. I think he's just going to have to take the take that with him and start getting in there on the action.
And you can see here both players in their contemplation mode, really studying where all of the different fighters are at, the positioning of fleets, what speed things are at, so many different things to take into account.
Yeah, they're really doing a good job of showing the intense thought that goes into this game, and especially at this level, goes into the thought processes of the players and what they're putting out on the field and how they're going to combat everything. Ooh, we get a squadron command.
So this looks like it's out of the Avaris. So he gets the squadron command. He's also burning the squadron token. Oh, no, wait. Nope, sorry, not out of the Avaris. Looks like it's out of one of the
GR-75s.
GR-75s. He is burning the extra squadron token. So instead of the standard 2 squadrons, he's going to be able to activate 3.
Oh, and he's getting in there very close. Kind of positioning his ship to come down southern. So I wonder if he's trying to angle the field that way.
So just to clarify, the token placed in the dice tray was not to indicate that he was going to take a squadron command with the token. He was taking the token for the dial instead. So he didn't actually activate any squadrons in that because he took the token for future squadron activation.
I see. That makes a lot more sense.
So we're seeing here the one of the hammerheads slowly inching forward.
It's that persistent turtle tactic, you know. It's going to win the race.
Yeah, I imagine you'll probably see a similar movement, speed, and tactic from the other hammerhead for Ick. I think he's probably playing the very, very slow game up. It looks like there was a card we were trying to play here. So this is where, okay, he's going to use his strategic advisor and basically pass the turn back to Ick.
And I imagine we'll see that Corellian Corvette inch forward now as well.
Yep, and there it
go.
is. So yeah, he's going to, again, I imagine he's going to continue to keep this pacing slow. He has no reason to get Riken into any kind of danger or to race into anything. So I would be surprised if he's not just continuing to inch forward.
I see it being very hard for Nathan to get to Riken on that Corellian Corvette in this game. It's fairly well hidden and off to the side doing his own thing.
Yeah, he's definitely protecting it. I imagine this is how most of the ways that he's played this fleet, where Riken stays back, is able to keep out of the real battles. But it was just one of those. Last round we saw Riken eliminated from that surprise Hammerhead and Profundity combo coming out of hyperspace with Admiral Radis. So he might be playing a little bit more conservative than he usually does.
Yeah, yeah, he might want to keep that far back. Just a little traumatized over last game's loss. And Riken's a very powerful guy to have on the field, so I understand that.
Yeah, it is. It is to note both players in this final match are playing with Riken.
And we have Riken's ability here somewhere to read off. There he is. So what General Riken does, he's 30 points, but when a friendly ship or a friendly unique squadron is destroyed, it actually remains in the play area and is treated as if it was not destroyed until the end of the status phase. So that's basically until the next round starts.
Yep, and it was he is able to only do that once per round. So the it makes you make the if you know that you potentially have multiple ships being destroyed in a round, you have to make the decision on the spot when the ship gets destroyed. So making that decision can be very important.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a very good general to have in charge of your fleets, and it's funny because we see such a diversity coming from the same general. You know, these fleet lists are very different in capital ships at least, or flagships, I should say.
Yeah, Riken can help any fleet. It's not just a very specific one, because you can save almost any ship till the end of the round. That's that can be useful on a variety of ships.
You know, when we saw him last round, he even saved himself on his own ship too. So that's a useful ability to keep around.
So yeah, we see Nathan trying to decipher what it is that he wants to do on this round. Checking all the different angles, doing the math. So much calculus in the game.
There really is, especially when you're all so close together in the middle there.
Well, yeah, because one misplaced or out of place squadron could or ship could completely change the tide of battle. So you have to be cognizant of each little web that your opponent might be spinning.
For sure. I seem to notice that there was a little bit of an increase in at least distance he moved there. Like he's getting up to some of the thresholds that Ick had just been on that asteroid field, moving forward. Oh, it almost seems like an aggressive move. I'm interested to see exactly how Ick responds to that.
I mean, what do you think that does that telegraph anything for what Nathan's thinking or how he might be approaching these next few turns?
I think it does. I think because of how much Ick has held his fleet back towards the corner, Nathan is feeling the need, or at least the urge, to push forward faster. And I wonder if that plays more into Ick's hand, or if that exposes him more. I'm not sure at this point.
Yeah, I think the activation I'm most curious about is does he keep that MC-80 command cruiser back, continuing to slow move up, or is this a turn where maybe he kicks it into to high gear, throws out, if he potentially has the navigate dial combined with the fact that we know he's got the navigate token, potentially it won't be able to move up to speed 3, but he can use the next couple of rounds to utilize both of those pretty effectively.
Oh yeah, I mean at least bump himself up to speed 2. The ever fast pace of the MC-80 command cruiser, coming in at half the speed of a Corellian corvette.
Yeah, so we're checking. Yep, we're get some movement here on the squadrons. Looks like it's going to be an attack on that Y-wing group. No. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. And I wonder if that is our good friend Nora Wexley. It could be a lot of things actually.
Yeah, I mean, three of the fighters that Ick is using are Y-wings. You have the Dutch Vander, Nora Wexley, and Gold Squadron. I'd be a little surprised if it was Nora, only because Nora tends to gravitate towards the center of a group of bombers. Having her kind of at the outskirts like that would be a little surprising. So we get the attack roll in on it.
Ooh.
Just the one. So you can see the 1 damage put in there.
It might be Gold Squadron.
The additional squadron here being activated.
presently 10 minutes into our second hour here. So we're moving along pretty fast considering the action happening in the middle of the battlefield.
Yeah, indeed. And it looks like we've got some. So that was that activation. We're going to see this other GR75 medium transport move up a little bit more, get a little bit closer into the action. You see him checking various ranges with, which it's amazing to me how, just having a notch off, making the wrong decision of one notch can change the entire way that ship interacts with the battlefield at that time. So very important to be very cognizant of where you're going to place yourself.
Oh, no kidding. Well, and especially where he's lined up there with Yavaris coming into play right behind him.
Yeah, putting this this medium transport here seems a little risky. You're throwing it in the middle of all those squadrons. You're also kind of in the central area for all of Ik's ships to kind of converge on that space. I'm not sure how I feel about that move.
He might be doing it to protect the side of Yavaris as Yavaris comes in too, get his weak spot covered with that transport.
That's a good point.
I think that might be the play here because I'm not entirely sure what purpose the GR75 would serve beyond anti-squadron. We do have a couple of Nathan squadrons over on that side, or at least one that I can see, ready to combat anything that would try to come harm the Galfreys or the GR75s.
So we've got a squadron command here.
Very
that die roll does no good. Bounces out. Get the reroll here. So no damage. Not sure which fighter he was utilizing there, or which ship he was shooting with.
It appears he was activating something with the.
Yeah, so he used a squadron command out of the Hammerhead, and of course those only have
one.
The single squadron.
Oh, yep, there we go. Yep, one squadron. It could have been a very potent move though there with those 3 dies. It just didn't get so lucky.
Yeah, my guess would be that was it's going to be either Dutch or Wexley firing. Get the shot of that Y wing. We saw the 3 blues, and yeah, unfortunately no hits. Because
of Dutch's ability, I almost bet you it was Dutch trying to get a squadron out earlier. So what Dutch does is when a squadron you attack suffers at least 1 damage, you can toggle its activation slider to the activated side, which means that your opponent doesn't get to use him that round. Could be very potent, especially this early in the game, or this early in the round, getting 1 shot off with Dutch like that. But unfortunately, it didn't seem to work.
So here we see the activation of the MC-80.
Ooh, and look at that. It must be moving faster. With a navigate dial as well.
Yep, so we use the dial. I assume that means he's going to keep the token because the extra move or navigate won't help him. So
unless it uses it for the yaw.
That's true. Could be using the dial for the yaw with the speed increase on the token.
We'll have to see.
It looks like it's something he's contemplated. I see he's got that movement tool really cranked to the side.
Yeah, it is. It is a tough call because the exact way he maneuvers this now will determine its course and play in the rest of the game.
Yeah, and he's kind of there's this thin line of like, you bring him up in the middle like that, and you really push forward. But if you turn in too early, it could start to disrupt your fighters. It could start to disrupt your other ships. And at the angle that he's going in at, it still looks like it would be threatened by that asteroid there. That's, as you can see now, is right in front of it.
Ooh, he did save that that token, so I bet you next round he'll be able to use that to help him out.
Yeah, that's true. He could pull that as a yaw piece to try to get better positioned. So yeah, it looks like we see the ever-present range ruler there for squadrons, making sure that everything's in the places it needs to be for the upcoming battle.
Oh yeah. It's cool to see them navigate with it so much on their screen there. It looks like we're getting some movement though, some action out of those those very intense measuring. Oh, nope, we're measuring again. It is such a game of precision to get this right, so I completely understand.
So yeah, it looks like they gonna take a look here and see. Just sliding in. So double checking that distance one, the very important distance one for fighters.
Oh yeah, that makes or breaks an engagement right there.
So yeah, it looks like
we still have that one escort on the board, don't we?
Yes, it's a little bit harder to see. It's just to the if you're looking at the screen now, it's just to the right of the medium transport, one of Nathan's medium transports. It's like southeast of that transport.
Oh, yeah, it seems to be right between them. Oh.
So, yeah, we're getting again some measurements, making sure everything's in place.
Man, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is a very tight game. They are keeping it focused in a very small area. I don't know if I've ever seen a finals match this compact on the field.
Yeah, you usually see almost 2 fields of battle, right? Where kind of what we saw in the last streaming match, where you have these very different kind of things happening and different points of focus for the players. But no, everything has been compacted down into this very, very tight center space, and it's making the decision points so important, because if you mess up on one end of the battlefield, you might be able to recover with being able to overwhelm your opponent on the other. But here, there is no other. There is no other portion of the battlefield. You have to win in this centerpiece. There is no room for error. There is no room for mistake.
It definitely increases the intensity of the battle, and as we've seen them with all of their extra little triangulations and uses of the dials, it must be bringing on the heat for them out there, making sure they're doing everything just perfectly.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's why you're seeing so many measurements and just the double checking of all the calculus, just to make sure that their strategies are still viable. So it looks like we've got a fighter attack here. It's going to be 1. We get the reroll. Nope, still the 1 damage. I imagine that's going to be on that YT 1300 escort out there in the center. So continuing to shoot away at that. So we get another attack here. Looks like another damage into a reroll for another damage. So 2 more. I believe that's 4 taken on that
4,
YT 1300 up to this point. So just 3 left.
Does he get the counter here, or was there some sort of block that didn't allow that?
Yeah, it looks like we were shooting off that asteroid potentially.
Oh.
So those would have been obstructed shots.
Dang.
So you're looking at, that's why you probably were dropping down to 2. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Looks like Tednub out there, I believe, with the B-Wings. So normally so it looks like it choosing to drop the black die for the two blues there. Nope. So here he drew drop the blue. No, this must be coming from a different attack here. So we get 2 hits. We don't. That's gonna be 2 more. We get the counter 1 here.
There's the counter.
Does hit.
Old Faithful with that single hit.
And it looks like the YT.
Oh, he's still there.
Yeah, if I did the calculations correct, he should have 1 health left. 3 hits. Gets that final counter 1, but I think that's going to drop the final escort. Get the reroll. No hits on the counter.
Oh man.
I believe that eliminates that final escort. It's another 13 points for Ick.
And now we're down escorts.
We're down escorts. It can now start to focus on the ships that are causing him, or the fighters that are causing him the most harassment.
And I don't know what.
So this looks like it's going to be the attack out of the front of the
Yavaris there?
Of the Yavaris. So your 3 red, really solid roll.
It is. Was that onto the medium transports?
I imagine it was the medium transports. I'm sure the scatter shot was used. Or the scatter token was used. So looks like Yavaris is going to now continue the slow pace up the middle. No need to speed up. It's very effectively using the relays from the VCX 100s to get out the orders that it needs, keeping some squadrons nearby. Does look like it ran through through one of the VCXs and one of the other, so it had to shift that.
Yeah, it's going to make it a little tougher to use their ability, especially with Nathan's placement of them being directly behind.
And we see Nathan here, again checking. Looking at the various points here. Looks like the Yavaris is going to be his next activation. Most of the, all of that was being drawn as measuring from the Yavaris' front on his side. You can see the intense concentration.
Exactly. There we go. Squadron commands.
So squadron commands out of the Yavaris. That makes sense.
We would expect nothing less, I think. And this could be a determiner here, how many shots everything gets. It looks like he's going after that VCX up north towards the top there.
Yep, that definitely seems to be the target. We get the first shot here.
With the reroll, though, from Tornfar. Okay, that's a blue.
So the single blue just does the 1 damage there to that. Oh, it wasn't to the VCX there. It looks like it was into that. I believe those are some Y-Wing squadron. So that might be Gold Squadron.
It's quite possible.
Of course, all the Y-Wings, 6 health, so they can take a fair amount of damage.
I think it got 2 damage with a reroll on it, though.
Oh.
I think that was the case. Tornfar in action made sure that both of those shots from Yavaris hit. Or from Yavaris' command, I should say.
So we see here, it's doing the math on where Yavaris is going to land. That's those squadrons are going to get shifted.
Well, the benefit is having those squadrons get shifted back onto the medical centers. If any of them lost any health prior, they'll probably end up healing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Something that that might get overlooked by players who are less experienced. But yeah, it looks like Nathan planning for that ability to kind of slide in. I don't know how much damage they would have taken with all those escorts, but I'm sure Corrin Horn probably put a couple of shots into 1 or 2 of them.
Oh, for sure. I know we saw Jan Ors get hit, and Hera as well.
That's true. Yeah, so both of those could take advantage of that. So we see. I mean, at this point, what are the targets for Nathan? What is he trying to do with his squadrons?
You know, I think he's probably just trying to get rid of those bombers. I think anything he can do to get rid of those bombers so that the fighter ambush objective is something that only he can really use to its full advantage is going to be what he tries to do. I think it just comes down to actually illuminating the squadrons, though, and that may be what he wants.
Do you think he has the firepower to do that?
I think with where it's sitting, it's pretty even, but I do see him having a slight advantage. Those YT-1300s early on really helped him out.
Now this move surprises me. He's moving the Yavaris, cutting across the battlefield at that angle. He's exposing that side to fire coming in from numerous ships. You do have the medium transports, to your point earlier, as kind of creating that buffer. for those attacks. So most of the shots would probably end up being obstructed, but you can't. He didn't line it up perfectly behind there, so that front corner is still exposed from any of the ships coming from that direction, especially exposed to the fighters without escorts.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's an interesting move on his part. It's quite possible he's bumping himself ahead. I have a feeling that he's afraid of the MC-80 landing on top of them if they don't get out of the way next turn. And so he probably sped them up to make sure they're past that point.
I would be with the cut in with the MC-80. You think that the MC-80 is going to cut back through at the opposite angle, or do you think that he's going to try to use that navigate token to skirt outside that asteroid, exposing the majority of the battle to one of those side arc shots, which is much more potent than their front arc?
Yeah, it's tough at this point because that first shot would be more powerful, but I think in the longevity of the game, if he cuts across steeper, he would have more powerful shots going in because it would force Ick to move his fleet forward, and they would really have nowhere to go without being far too close to that MC-80.
That's a good point. So this is another squadron command we're using. You hear the discussion from Ick. He's going to be using relay through that VCX 100 like he's done so many times before.
It's really fascinating seeing squadron heavy games this much, especially in the late tournament. One thing that I remember from just reading some of the predictions and everything going into this was that there would be a lot of lists with just like your large base ships and maybe a couple squadrons. We got some rolls going on.
Got a roll here. There's the one blue. Doesn't look like anything came through.
Probably not. So it was a squadron to squadron, I think.
So now we're trying to decide. Looks like it is. All of those are just out of range of shots from some of the. Now we're getting close to the point where now we're going to start seeing some anti-squadron fire from the capital ships, I believe.
Yeah, I imagine that will come into play pretty quickly. And of course, the anti-squadron from capital ships, though it is a small dosage, being such a able to hit so many different ships, makes them quite potent.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we have. So is this coming off of one of the medium transports here?
I think so. I can't quite tell yet, so I'll have to see when they move. Yeah. It must be.
And it looks like we're bringing back that Y-wing group. Is he going to be moving? He's going to be retreating back into the into that asteroid. Wants to maintain that relay distance as the battle starts to shift more towards that area of the map.
Oh yeah, This is a very interesting offensive play by Nathan, and it seems to be working out at this moment. But with how slow Ick has been moving his ships, I have to wonder if this is what he wanted.
Yeah, it could be drawing Nathan in to dictate where the battle is going to be on Ick's terms. We see that at the same time we see that VCX moving closer, which means that those relay opportunities. But he's going to shoot here using the VCX, just the one with the reroll, so just the one damage. Looks like that damage was done to no, it wasn't the Ghost, and it wasn't the Moldy Crow. So we weren't looking at Hera or Jan.
Could have been a Scrug bomber.
Oh yes, could have been the Scrug H6 bomber. Yeah, that would actually probably make the most sense.
It would be one of the first things I'd want to take care of, at least, out there on the field. It's a very potent ship to have. Of course, with the grit that it does, which means that it can escape engagement as long as it's only being engaged by one other enemy squadron. It makes it a powerful ship.
And I believe at this point it's only that VCX that is tying it down. So with that grit, I think it's going to be able to move away.
That's true.
So it was off the medium transports. We are seeing what could potentially be some collision here soon in the center of the battlefield.
Oh, man. And of course, all the ships have to maintain at least distance 1 if they want to use their tokens. So they're all going to be still moving, bringing the battle even closer together.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, they'll maintain that speed 1. No one's going to drop to 0 at this point in the map, especially not in the middle of the battlefield like that.
No, I certainly hope not. That would make for a very quick into a ship, I think, stopping there in the middle.
So yeah. Looks like, so measuring from those, yeah, you see double checking, want to make sure line of sight, that asteroid is going to protect that Y-wing group.
And right now, too, we are only sitting at the end of round 2, so we have 4 whole rounds.
And we are halfway through. You'll see the timer is just hitting 1 hour, 30 minutes left. So we're exactly halfway through the match. And it looks like this is where we will start to see, I think, some of the dice start to sling a little bit more as these capital ships start to converge on each other.
Oh, for sure. And we're looking at the menace of that MC-80 getting in close here within the next round or 2. I imagine by the 4th round it will be able to deal out some potent shots. So we got a lot of reds and blues on it, so it doesn't necessarily need to be all that close, especially with no blacks anywhere. No black dice, that thing can really pull a shot from a distance.
And it looks like, I mean, that medium transport looks to be, if I had to guess from the angle I'm looking at, I would say that is getting close to medium range to give you an idea of where it's kind of sitting. So yes, to your point, 2 more rounds, both of those ships converging on that center. We will start to see a lot of targets of opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I fully expect a lot of bigger blows to be exchanged this round. I think round 3 will be the pivotal round for this game.
And that's kind of what we saw last game as well. The round 3 round was the round the Profundity came out. That was the round in which General Riecken on the Corvette was destroyed. A lot seemed to happen around round 3. I think you're right. I think we'll see the same thing here.
I think that was the same round that Radis found his way off the far corner of the map.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was all happened. So yes, round 3, very pivotal round. Leading up to that, there's a lot of positioning, a lot of gauging how your opponent's playing, what their trying to determine what their strategy might be. So I expect, to your point, I expect the next round to be much more. Now the culmination of those tactics coming to fruition.
Yes, I am definitely a little more on the edge of my seat coming into round 3 than I was the previous rounds. And it looks like we're getting pretty close. Some final squadron movements here. I think every ship has been activated except one of the... Nope. That's all of them. I think that's all the ships.
Yeah, I think all the ships have been activated. I think we're now entering squadron phase going forward here. So we've got the roll here, and nothing. We get the re-roll into a damage. See the point, the damage being put there. It looks like, is that one of the Y-wing squadrons?
Oh, he fell over.
Fell off the base.
He does not want to be there right now. He's taking a hiatus, that one.
All right, so yeah, it looks like Yik is looking at getting those put together. Meanwhile, we've got Nathan checking, using that laser pointer for line of sight, checking exactly the position of some things.
Yeah, it looks like it's getting ready to maybe blow through some squadrons with those ships. Especially that may have been the plan with this GR-75 he put up there in the north. From Nathan's perspective, is to roll out some good squadron damage.
That is a good point. Yeah, it is rolling a black and being able to get a good series of ships. It looks like out of the side arc of that, you're going to pull in at least 3, I believe, of Yick ships.
Yeah, I think so. And just with one arc, that is pretty potent.
Yeah, and then you do still have a lot of there are some fighters in the front arc as well. So, yeah, you can do a pretty big spread.
And we're looking at not many players have managed to save their tokens up to this point. I think the only token sitting on a ship still is that nav on the MC-80. So everyone's been putting all their commands out front and doing everything they can.
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, I think the General Riken CR-90 on Yick's side has its resting on the actual base instead of on the table.
Oh, I think you're right.
But I think that was the first thing that he did with the Riken CR-90 was to take that token.
So that is 2 then. 2 tokens, both on the flagships. Sitting out there.
So we've got a... I'm not sure where that die roll came into play. That's looks like it was probably 3 blue and a black. Just kind of doing a quick look over the cards. It must have been Ghost.
Yeah, it must have been an obstructed Ghost shot. No.
Let's see here. That looks like Jan Orr's moving in. So Jan Orr's going to get 3 dice.
It's a pretty tasty dice pool there with those rolls. Must be obstructed. But 2 hits doesn't even need a torn far on that. That is the best thing you could have asked for with those blues.
Absolutely.
And are we going to take out a ship here with that? What's
Nope, and that'll be the final. That'll be the final shot of the round. So
yep, moving into round 3. Here we go.
And the objectives so far are still not taking into account. That's definitely where we're seeing. I'm expecting that to take a big part of the later rounds as some of these fighters get to start shooting at the capital ships.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it will be. I think we're going to whittle down the squadrons enough to have it mostly be a game of ship bases here, up and coming, like actual activations going at each other.
So if the plan if you think that Nathan's plan is to move the MC-80 to kind of cut across this center point, while the Yavaris and medium transports continue on their path in the kind of opposite direction. What is Yick planning to do with the ship that he's got going? Is he continuing this slow 1-speed pace forward? Are you going to see some maybe break off and take to the corners? What do you do if you're Yick here?
I'm expecting both of the hammerheads to pick up pace and ram into the MC-80 as soon as it gets around the corner. I think that especially that one being maybe 2 turns away up in the north, and then the one nearest to us in the east being about 1 good turn away if it speeds up. I think that's probably the plan of attack on his part, is just getting those in there and stopping that MC-80 from moving forward while giving it damage.
Okay.
It is kind of frightening to have both of those coming in at once, but I do think that it could be a problem as well to stop the MC-80 there, because that allows its firepower to spread in one spot twice.
And it'd be very difficult for either of those hammerheads to get out of the side arcs. And now you're in close range, and with the angles we're looking at, potentially on either side arc, of that MC-80. So could also get in. You get in close to stop it, but then both of those side arcs turn on the hammerheads, and that will make quick work of them.
That's true. Yeah. So hopefully that's not his plan. I imagine he'll have a little bit better of a spread. He does seem to be playing very reserved at this point, which leads me to believe that Yick has a very good focus point coming up. That Yick has planned out this part of the battle. I'm just not entirely sure. Really, who's going to win at this point? It's very much a mixed game.
Yeah, no, I don't think either side has taken a dominant stance in the game. I think it is absolutely anyone's match at this point. The points 39-22, those are easily, any single major ship taken out can start to fluctuate those points quickly. So I expect there is still very much a lot of game to be played before we can even come close to determining where everyone's at.
Oh, for sure. Well, and especially with the with all of the points for Yick being from the YT 1300s that Nathan threw out there, putting him ahead, it makes me think that it is still a very even game, and that those points have been controlled as they've been coming in from both sides, actually, because Yick was the one that put out Corran Horn right to the middle of Nathan's fight. So they've intentionally given up all their points so far. It'll be very interesting to see where all the surprise shots come in.
Yeah, that's going to be, and you predicted round 3. This is the round to watch. This is where some of these plans that were laid back, all the way back, sometimes as far as round 0, in that asteroid placement, in that deployment. These are when those plans come to fruition and really start to take shape. So I'm very curious to see how this round ends up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I am very much on edge here. I'm not sure who's going to activate what first, really. It's a tough call at this point, because we're going to see some collisions, I think, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're going to have, if Nathan is planning to move that MC-80 through the middle there, he's going to have to move both the medium transports and the Nebulan B out of the way. Unless he's going very short distance, unless he's continuing to take it at a slow pace. Although I think at speed 2, he still will end up probably colliding with that medium transport. So I think that he's gonna have to at least move the medium transport out of the way before moving that MC-80.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that he can stall with all the other ships this round, but he definitely needs to move that MC-80, or it's going to take damage. The nice thing is it doesn't do anything to the. Or not the MC-80, sorry, the GR-75. Because if he moves that, it'll get out of the way. But if he still doesn't, it won't do anything to the MC-80, right? It'll just put a damage on that GR-75.
Sure.
So that's still kind of a nice pillow to have. But, obviously you don't want your ships to be running into themselves. It kind of makes your Admiral-ness not necessarily look the greatest on the battlefield.
And it also, I think the other thing it would do is if it ends up ramming it, it means it's stopping your forward progress, right? Like,
oh, no kidding.
If the point is to get that into firing range, then you probably want to continue that forward momentum. Now, at the same time, can be utilized by very experienced commanders to purposely stop there, to use it as a bumper, if you will, to stop the MC-80 exactly where he wants, so that he doesn't get himself too far committed and within range of opposing attacks. Some of those measurements might have actually been that.
Exactly. Well, and some of the cleverness of it is if the GR-75 is his intention to use it as a halting block for that MC-80, it allows him to still say he's moving, right? So he gets to use all of his defense tokens, even though he's stuck in one place where he wants to be. So it could be that. It could be a very clever move I didn't see coming. Oh, and we got some points. He must have taken out another squadron while I was busy rambling about how exciting this game is.
So we're looking at, there's an additional 19 points.
19 points.
So it looks like 10 Nub was destroyed.
Oh, 10 Nub.
So he has been eliminated, the only B squadron on the board, I believe.
Yeah, no, that was a very good move on his part. That must have been what he was shooting at earlier on the asteroid field that we hadn't quite identified.
Yes.
So, because that one's gone now. So, And that's probably the most potent bomber we had sitting on his front lawn right now.
Yeah, and it was definitely the, I think it was the only fighter that had kind of crossed over that was left after Corrin had been dropped. I think it was the only fighter that that Yik had that had crossed over that center point and to actually start, being in position to lay down progressive fire. So looks like we have another squadron command. We get the attack. The reroll comes in. So two damage.
2 damage. Look at that.
Looks like a brace was used there. So it's only going to be the 1 damage, but still very effective. And so, yeah, using the comm relay, always good using that, using relay to, to make sure you're using the command, you're using the squadrons that you want to from the ships that you're activating. Yik has done that to such great effect over the course of these last couple matches that we've been able to watch.
Yeah, really the skill of these two players has been increasingly evident in every single turn and every single move they're making. It is very clear why they are spearheading Armada Worlds right now. The skill, the timing, the activations. It's interesting to see that they're both Rebel players at this point, but they've done amazing jobs with the ships they've had.
Yeah, 100% agreed. They are both taking the nuances of the game, showcasing their skill here at the highest level, competing for the greatest prize in gaming, the ability to design their own card, work with the developers for future content. Looks like we have another squadron attack here. We've got the 3 blue, 2 damage coming through.
And an accuracy, so hopefully that wasn't an ace.
And it looks like that was taken, that was one of the Y-wings that are left. So again, we're probably looking at Nora or Dutch. I didn't see the activation slider move, so it probably wasn't Dutch. Could also be the Gold Squadron flying there. We have trying to identify it as potentially as it gets closer to this edge of the board. And those medium transports just slowly plugging away.
Putzing their way across the field.
Yeah, there's no need for them to really put themselves in any kind of danger. They're able to issue all those orders through the relay, so Yik is essentially letting them kind of just park back there and do all the things they need to do.
Oh, man. That's very, very true. They're doing a good job kind of controlling the center of the game map just by sitting off to the side there. That really goes to show the reach that the GR-75s have, especially with the VCX ships using their relay ability.
Yeah, it looks like shifted over to Nathan, making his decision here to, at this point, the Yavaris, you have to be a little bit worried where it's at, because activating it here moving forward brings you potentially in range of that Hammerhead Corvette. But at least you're facing directly at it, so you don't have to worry so much about the Hammerhead hitting, that very, very weak side hull zone.
That's true, and you're still in a good enough spot with those squadrons between you and it that it has to worry about ramming you lest you get to move its the squadrons in front of it.
Yeah, the Y-wings that just made that shot. That's a good point.
Yeah, Yik has a very good defensive setup there, but I think it's something that Nathan is playing into to move his ships forward at this point. It will be exciting to see if that will spring Yik's various traps I'm sure we've got going on here that we don't see or know about yet, Sure,
yeah. Again, we talked about those traps being laid early and potentially. So we have a squadron command here. Going to increase squadron by 1. Ooh. I imagine this is a Yavaris move here. There are quite a few squadrons that are hanging out. It looks like we're going to now see how that plays out. So with the first attack, Rolls into nothing. Rolls the reroll into a damage. Second shot. Nothing. Get the reroll in, and looks like another damage.
Very nice. Ouch. Some good moving. Oh, and I didn't even realize he had squadrons back there, too.
Oh, yeah, it looks like that is a Y-Wing squadron back there, so maybe that's Nora hanging out.
Could be. There are kind of Y-Wings all over the place here. It's hard to keep tabs on them.
Yeah, all three look to still be in play. I see the one that fired in front of the Hammerhead. I see the one that's back there behind the Avaris, and it looks like there's another one on the asteroid field by that other Hammerhead up to the north side of the map. So, yeah, it looks like all three Y-Wing squadrons still in play. It's still so very potent.
Oh, and it looks like the VCXs are still steadfast and hanging around. Of course, with their 8-hold, it's like trying to take out a capital ship almost to get rid of them. So I understand they're flying out still.
And that was a 2 damage roll, but I heard Yick saying that he would brace it down to 1. So we're definitely getting named fighters being attacked, which at this point the only things left for those are going to be Nora and Dutch for Yick. Rogue Squadron doesn't have any of the defense tokens. Corrin's already been eliminated, as has 10 Nubs. So what we're looking at is that those shots are coming in on either Dutch or Nora. Looks like that's the Moldy Crow and Jan Ors moving in for an attack here. And we are starting to close in, finishing up our second hour. So we've got an hour and just under an hour and 10 minutes left in the match. We are in this very pivotal round 3. So this is the moment where I think we're going to start seeing some shift here.
Oop! I heard a shot being taken at Dutch. Or something. Oh yeah, this must be anti-squadron on the ship.
Oh yes.
Oh, almost had a roll happen outside the box, but they were quick to catch it.
Get the re-roll for the damage.
All right. That was a hit. In case you didn't see the box there.
And it did look like he pointed to the Y-Wing that is in front of the Hammerhead. He said it was Nora. So Nora's going to take 2 damage. Not sure if she still has any defense tokens left. I didn't hear Yick call for a brace, so she might be out of them.
Oh, man.
Or being saved.
That does put her in a tough spot.
So we see the Avaris coming through here. Getting out of the way.
Oh man, this has been a very intense 2 hours. I'm glad that we have that extra hour to go through for this final.
Yes, absolutely. I think again we talked about how important every little detail is, making sure that you're aligning everything correctly, and giving the final match that extra time. I think really allows them to showcase their skills at the highest level.
Oh, for sure. Oh, and it looks like we're getting ready to move the Avaris. Oh, a surprising move.
Very surprising. That puts it very exposed to that Hammerhead Corvette.
With 2 arcs.
And it very much takes it away from many of the fighters that are in position back where it just left. So not sure what the thought process was for getting it in that position.
Man, not unless he's circling all the way around or trying to bait that Hammerhead into leaving. I don't know what that would have gained, but that is an impressive move. Nothing I expected for sure.
No, yeah, definitely not. I mean, the side arc of the Hammerhead isn't great. It's just the 1 black die.
Yeah.
It really is that front arc that creates the biggest concern. You get the 3 dice out of it, a red, a blue, and a black, and then you get that extra attack out of the side into a one shield hull zone. That's something to be concerned about.
Very much, yeah. I'm not sure exactly what he's planning, but I'm excited to see to see that plan unfold.
Well, we'll see how Yick takes advantage of that as this continues. You see him already planning out what's the distance that this MC80 can shoot. Where do I need to stay away from?
Yeah, I'd be sweating it a little in his spot right now with where that ship's coming in too.
Oh, like long range.
Oh,
So
we heard something about a long-range shot going on here.
yeah, wants to check range, removing that ship. Currently out is what I hear.
Ooh,
So
saved by the millimeters.
yep. So it sounds like that's probably going to be one of the later activations for Yick. He's going to want to try to get that MC80 to go forward first and keep it out of range.
Yeah, I see that being a dangerous game to play because no matter what he does, either the Hammerhead Corvette's going to probably be in range or that GR75. He's going to have to pick one of the two, I think.
Well, and the GR75 is going to have to move if he wants to move Yavaris because there's just not enough room there. I guess it's possible he could slide it to the side.
But that will expose Yavaris' side to the MC80.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. That's a tough call.
So that was 2 more damage. He gets the other attack. Just going to be the 2. So trying to see which figure is being pulled here, which ship.
That appeared to be...
Is that the Scourge?
Must be.
H6. So yeah, it looks like it was that. We see another damage comes through.
Could have been Gold Squadron.
It looks like that was eliminated. We'll get confirmation as to which unit that was. But another fighter squadron dropped by Yick, giving him now switching the point lead back to him. It's been a very seesaw battle in terms of points. So we get the Yavaris shooting the 3 front. Going to get a reroll and a double hit using the evade token, or I'm sorry, the
Concentrate fire.
no, it was a reroll forced by.
Oh yes.
By the evade defense token.
Defense token.
And now the Yavaris moves. Now, yes, to your point, this is a dangerous position. He knows he cannot bring the Yavaris beyond the range of that medium transport because it is just out of range. So it looks like it was the 10 nub for 10 nub for Nathan that was also destroyed at 19 points, or the Moldy Crow. Again, we're trying to get an exact ship to find out what it was that was destroyed.
I think I still see the Moldy Crow.
Okay, yep, I do see it. You're right. Right
Yep.
behind the medium transport, the Moldy Crow is there. We saw Yick go up by 19 points. The only thing on that on his list that would make sense would be 10 nub. So both 10 nubs have been destroyed now.
Knocks out some of the more potent bombers, leaves us with a lot more of the squadron strike forces, which is, ironically, I think not what either player wanted at this point in the game.
All right, and we see here now Nathan's going to take advantage of his strategic advisor and pass the turn, sending it back to Yick to make the next decision point.
I love the context of that card. Just you have a guy that just says, "No, wait," and so you all stop and wait for a minute. It's pretty great.
That is pretty great. Very thematic. So I'm looking here, and it doesn't look like the Yavaris has moved.
Only one out. I'll use my Hammerhead number 16. Firepower.
So this is the. So I don't know if the Yavaris has actually dropped to speed 0. That might be the speed that it's running at right now.
It might have.
So we heard Yick say here he's going to use his Hammerhead to fire anti-squadron, I believe. No, this was his side arc.
That's the Yavaris
This is his
side
arc into the Yavaris. Yep, there we go.
And now he's killed the one shield that it has.
So the one shield has been dropped. Here's the front arc shot. Not what Yick was hoping for.
Man.
So just the 1 damage.
1 damage coming through. That was a tough roll.
Looks like he's going to use. So
must be concentrate fire.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to see the dial come out, but I imagine that's concentrate fire. Adds the black, gets another damage. Looks like they're checking to see range here.
1 to 3 or is she medium? 1 to 3. Okay. So I won't fire now.
So you're going to use Torin Far
Take damage.
to do the reroll. So it ends up being 3 damage.
And he braced, and well, it must have been 2. He braced and took it down to 1. We saw him put 1 card on his ship over there. And oh, nope, there's the second one. You were right.
So it is 2 damage into the side there. Yavaris isn't, the Nebulan Bees only have 5 health, so just under halfway dropped. I think now he did use the Yavaris. I believe that was at its max speed, so it was moving in at speed 3. I imagine he's going to use that to try to get out of the way, possibly run away from the fight. Only thing I don't like about that is it basically, if that's the case, leaves the Yavaris pretty much out of the rest of the battle.
Yeah, it would be hard to bring him all the way around and back in unless he's got some navigate tricks up his sleeve.
So we've got the dial shown here. This is a concentrate fire, 2 blanks.
Ouch.
And now we're going to see the movement here. So the medium transport is going to get out of the way. It's not going to be used as a blocker for the MC-80.
Probably wise.
And again, it does. It is shifting the battle a little bit. I'd be curious to see if Nathan is able to then bring a lot of the rest of his fleet to kind of match up with the rest of the speed of these two, of all these ships kind of fleeing in this opposite direction.
Oh, you know what I see now that I didn't see before? He's shifting his fleet into a channel there going south so that the MC-80 can sweep up north.
Yeah, and that it kind of becomes almost like a screen where he screens in with with those smaller ships cutting across the battlefield, drawing fire, drawing attention, and then just as it passes, the MC-80 can come in and kind of unleash all of its firepower, potentially in multiple directions, because with the angles that he's playing with, you could potentially see side arc shots out of both once he gets into position. It's going to take another round to do so, but once he's in there, it's going to be very effective.
Jeez, yeah, if that is his play, it's a potent play.
So we see the General Riken CR-90 just inching a little bit around the edges.
Creeping up a little further. Riken needs a better view of the battlefield is what's happening there. As it slowly shifts downward, he's got to follow.
So we've now dropped to under our hour. We're looking at 58 minutes left in the match. Now, those who are watching who may not be familiar with the way the format works, if we go into when time is called, we will finish out the round that is being played. So we're currently in round 3. At the pace we've been playing, potentially means round 5 is probable. I'm not sure if we'll get to a round 6 though.
I don't think we will. I think round 5 will probably be played out to the end, and that'll be our last round here.
But I guess it does depend as things start to get removed from the battlefield. Obviously, the pace of play picks up. We hit that pitched part of the battle where everything becomes hyper-focused into all of the dice being rolled. So I expect to see the pace increase here shortly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we're almost to done with being with activations here. We're almost to squadrons, I think, on this round 3. We're coming up to the tail end of it.
Yeah, I think we only have, I think Nathan still has 2, right? The MC-80 and the other medium transport. And then I believe we're looking at the other Hammerhead and the medium transport for Yik.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is exactly what is left. You're doing a very good job keeping track of all these activations in your head.
I could be very wrong, but I'm fairly certain that is what's left to activate. Now, this is going to be cutting it really tight with that
asteroid field.
With that asteroid.
I almost wonder at this point if he wants to straighten it out and just take that damage. Oh, well, that's more straight than I thought. Let's see what see what he does.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's not quite the straightforward, cut through the battlefield give both side arcs opportunity. He definitely looks like he's playing more to one side or the other favored as he's coming through this. Depending on which way he decides to cut in, it looks like only one of his arcs is going to be into play. No, no. This is what we anticipated here. This is we're going to move in. He still also has that navigate token that could come into play. I imagine that'll be used next round to slow down so that he doesn't overshoot some of these targets, or they don't overshoot him.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what he. Oh yeah, there is still that navigate token, and of course he may have planned for this, and somewhere in there have navigate dials too to fine-tune his speed as he goes.
Sure. Yes, because of course the MC-80 being a large base ship has the bigger command value. So command value 3. So he's got to plan those turns three moves in advance. So hopefully he anticipated where this would end up as he was doing his planning.
No kidding. It is always hard to determine where your dials are going to go and what they're going to be for, and that is exactly, I guess, the key point of knowing how to be an admiral for your exact fleet is knowing what command dials in what order to always have placed down. It can really shape the game flow. Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, of course, Yik is safe to move that medium transport. Now that the MC-80 is gone, a lot of these, he can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief knowing that he was able to wait that out.
Yes, no kidding. And it does look like the MC-80 will see action during this game too.
Yeah, which is good because, again, it is a considerable amount of Nathan's fleet, and he needs to make sure that the points that he invested in it are going to do him some good in this match.
Yeah, it's over 1/4 of his points. Coming in at what, 133? No.
152.
152.
Actually.
Forgive me. I was reading the squadrons.
So it looks like we're going to move some squadrons in. So that's one of the VCX 100s. And then going to be able to do checking range, see if any of the other fighters are able to do the relay off of that. Get the one attack, Torrent Far to the reroll. Just the one. So we see another damage there. Put in on, that looks like it's the Scourge.
Yeah, I was going to say that must be the Scourge. Scourge.
Yep, Scourge, yes. H6 bomber.
Yes, lots of R's. It's confusing.
So we have, we're definitely double checking here.
Doing some finer measurements. It is nice to see the center of the field clearing up a little bit, while also at the same time ever growing in intensity.
Yeah, it seemed to be there was almost a parting of the center as you see making kind of way for this big ship and playing around it.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It was interesting to witness the squadron game play out. And I don't know, who do you think came out of that with the upper hand?
I think we're still determining that, to be honest. It looks like another damage was put on the Scourge, so it's starting to get whittled down. It does have 6 health, so. But honestly, it seems so close with the squadron fight. If I had to pick, I would think that at this point, Yik is slightly in the lead. He managed to take down all the escorts. He's now able to start putting fire into the units that he wants to. But at the same time, Nathan has been able to take out, Tennub, Corrin Horn. It's still so very, very close.
Oh, that's very true. I don't know, have we seen Rogue Squadron yet?
I haven't seen anything specific where Rogue Squadron has had a major impact into some of the things going on. I think it is hiding back as playing escort to that medium transport in the rear. I believe that's where that's hanging out at. So it's kind of stayed back just there in case any of those fighters decide they're going to make a run at that medium transport in the back. Or potentially waiting for the advancement of the opposing fleet so that it can move in at the opportune moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I see it's getting a little more intense as also Riken gets closer to the middle there on his Corellian Corvette, coming up nearer the opposing Riken on the MC-80.
So we see a navigate command here. It's going to go to a token for this this final medium transport. And we're going to do some anti-squadron here. We see the VCX taking a little bit of damage. It's going to check some other firing arcs. And then I imagine it's going to be used to disrupt the movement of potentially some of the incoming ships. Do you think it'll turn towards that hammerhead, or do you think it'll continue its path to just cut across the battlefield?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a really tough call. I have to wonder. I have to wonder if he's going to go after that hammerhead to try to stop it from destroying Yavaris.
So you can see we're reaching 50 minutes left in the match. Ever keeping constant watch over that time. I'm sure the players are both very aware as the time ticks away. So yeah, we see laser tool being used. Check those firing arcs, seeing what's available. And it looks like we're seeing the Yavaris moving in. Appears to be. I can't tell. It's hard to tell if it's that measurement's coming from the Yavaris or coming from the hammerhead.
I can't quite. I can't quite make it out. I'll have to see when he actually goes to maneuver the ship.
So this is the hammerhead.
It is the hammerhead.
It's got the speed check on there. So this I believe is going to be the final move. This is the final activation needed for the round, I believe.
I think so. I think we got a couple squadrons left to move. I see some tabs still on the correct round. Should be running blue, I think.
Yep. That's what it looks like. That's the.
So we got those.
What the round dial shows.
Those, I believe, gold squadron up in front of. Would be Nathan's gold squadron that is yet to go. Maybe a few others.
The one is that sitting in front of the MC-80?
I believe so. Yep. And it looks like it's within range of that other Y-wing squadron that is Yix out there near the rear of Yavaris and that Galfrey or GR75.
Yeah, and I believe we've identified that as Nora. So it looks like this is, just as you called, going to be an attack from Gold Squadron onto Nora.
Ooh.
Oh, nope. Looks like it's a different shot here because this is an obstructed shot. Get the reroll. So just the one damage. Oh, no, it is on Nora. So the one goes through. Nora still survives.
All right, and it looks like we are resetting the dials.
And we have seen the round dials now tick to round 4. So we're beginning round 4 here.
Yeah, we'll probably just scrape into round 5, huh?
Yeah, that looks like to be the case. I don't see, without a severe uptick in pace, I don't see how this match goes into round 6. Yeah, it looks like I'd be very curious again to see. So we know that Yik has first activation of the round. Is this an opportunity perhaps to use that Corvette, that Hammerhead Corvette, to continue to try to put fire into the Yavaris, into Nathan's Yavaris?
You know, I think so. I think that's going to be the choice plan of action, because if he's lucky, he can ram it too.
Yeah, that's true. He can do a ram action. He gets 2 shots out of different arcs. The Yavaris is already down 2 health, so potentially taking that out would be pretty good. It's the Yavaris at this point is 65 points for Nathan. That would be the first major ship loss of the game first capital ship loss of the game.
It would be, yeah. Would be very interesting to see where that would leave the Hammerhead, though, because it might put it in the arcs of the MC80.
Very true.
Just with the angle it's sitting, that laser divider between the front arc and what is the eastern side arc would be a very bad spot to end your ship.
It's possible, though, that Yick is taking that into account. It is only 36 points. Those Hammerhead corvettes are empty, so if you know, doing the calculus of I can destroy a ship that's worth 65 points, and then if in the return fire he manages to take out a ship that's only 36, that's obviously advantageous for Yick.
Oh yeah, no, that's a very good point, and I think if he takes that into consideration, it might be open. That is the first activation, I think.
I'm first, yeah. So I'll use this guy here.
So yep, it looks like he pointed to that Hammerhead.
Fire the side of your Yavaris.
Side arc of the Yavaris.
Yep. So as we anticipated, so the side arc shot is going to do a damage.
That's right.
I'll just take 1 damage, it's fine.
It's not going to do reroll. So here comes the 1 damage. That's 3 on the Yavaris. Has 2 left.
And
This is
we're
the
rolling
front
with
shot.
3 dice right now.
3 damage sounds like you.
So it's 3, including a crit.
Well, that will kill you off. My firepower, I'll add a blue die in just for fun.
So he's going to add that, pull the accuracy to make sure that he gets that final hit in. I believe that's going to kill the Yavaris. So we do all the math.
Yes, I will Riken him.
Flip all the cards. Riken is going to be used here. So Riken's going to allow that ship to stay on the board for the remainder of the round, potentially disrupting movement of that Hammerhead, preventing it from where it really wants to go. But it is good to note that is the only time that Nathan's going to be able to use that ability this round.
Yeah, now that we already know that.
Can you mark your guy? I'm going to have to move around him anyways.
So just getting a marking there to know that that is the that's the placement here. We're just checking. He got to try to get this Hammerhead around the Yavaris, creating problems even after death. That's the whole point of Riken.
That's true. It's very thematic of him.
By your guy at short range. I'll just take it
So
as
it looks
cover.
like,
Okay.
yeah, we're,
And then I'm done.
so here comes the. So he is gonna do the ram. So he's gonna take the damage, but that's gonna allow him to stay where he's at, and that keeps him in the position that he wants it to be, not inching any closer to that MC80.
No kidding. And taking the ram really emphasizes Riken's ability there to hold on to that space and deal the damage basically for free at this point.
Certainly. It also shows the expert play of Yick, realizing that he doesn't really want the Hammerhead to advance into the only option that he has in terms of movement. So he'd rather take the damage and hold back. So it looks like a concentrate fire here.
Why do you have 2 red dice? Oh, it's long range. Yeah, sorry.
Is using the long range shot of the. It looks like we're activating the MC80 first.
Oh man,
With the concentrate fire, adding the red die. So
that's 2 hits.
2 damage.
I'll add a 3rd die anyway, so we'll do 3 dice. I'll lock your evade.
Okay, great. I will take 2 damage. And I'll redirect 1 damage.
All right. So we can hear the
I love taking damage from that.
taking damage there on that Hammerhead.
So that's 2 damage on that Hammerhead.
2 damage on the Hammerhead. Yep, that was coming out of the.
So we're at
Side arc.
Looks like
Hmm.
medium range.
medium range.
So medium range to those medium transports.
We're probably going to throw those 3 dice out at it. Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
4 hits on 3 dice. I'm gonna re-roll 1. He needs to get rid of that scatter shot. Is the important thing. So scatter's just going to eliminate all those. Eliminate all of those hits.
Maybe.
Last chance
Yep.
for it. Nope.
Aw.
So yeah, no. Scatter just gets rid of all of it.
I didn't realize you had so many rerolls. I'm like, oh god, just die. I just want my guy to die. Is that too much to ask?
So now we get to see where is he going to use this navigate token to drop speed, or is he going to continue to move at speed 2?
You know, I think he's going to keep powering forward.
Is he going to end up ramming that those medium transports? I think that's where it gets him, depending on how he angles himself here.
And that could be okay because it just does damage to them. But at the same time, he may not want to ship that far back.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna halt that forward progress. That if he does really want to stay at speed 2, it means that he's trying to get forward fast. And yeah, by ramming into that ship, that would not be the move that he would want to do.
You can see him stop to think here. This is a pivotal move on his part.
And so yes, the points will be updated in terms of it has been, the Avaris has been eliminated. It won't be removed until the end of the round. So that is going to be an additional 65 points for Yik. So more than doubling his current score and the first ship casualty of the game. But again, Nathan is going to be able to keep it out there using his Riken commander ability.
We're seeing various avenues of movement here as Nathan tries to figure out where exactly he's going to put this MC-80. And it's interesting to note how close Yik has kept all of his other ships up in the north of the field if you're watching this on video. Because they're so close together, it would be hard to get them in more than one arc. And I think that that's a pivotal part of his plan.
Yeah, it looks like he manages to just sneak up, not quite hitting that medium transport. So,
oh man,
really solid positioning. It does mean he lands on a couple squadrons, so Yik's going to be able to place those.
Do your fighter coordination team. I'll put one here and one here, I guess.
Yeah, keeping in mind that coordination team, which, again, if you're new to watching, does allow you to move squadrons that are close to you up one range distance as you move.
I'll put this in, otherwise I'll forget it.
All right, so we see here the squadrons being placed. Looks like it was Ghost and Gold Squadron from Nathan's fleet.
I have a squadron command, I guess.
All right, we're activating a squadron command on a GR-75 at this moment from Yik's side.
Gold squadron.
All right, so we see Nora coming into play here.
She's going to shoot at Gold Squadron is what I think I heard.
So going to re-roll one of those with Torn Far. It's just going to be the 1 damage. So Gold Squadron takes 1. They do have a hardy 6. So.
And so does Nora, of course. So.
Yeah, all the Y-Wings, Gold Squadron, Nora, Dutch, all 6 health.
Yeah.
So looking possibly to use that relay. Nope, going to use the VCX itself.
It appears so. Getting that activation in. Oh, for the point of healing, probably. Landing it on the medical center.
Yes, it lands it on the medical center, gets the point of healing, also gets it in the center of some of the squadrons he has back there. Rolls the 1 in damage. So it'll be a single point of damage, continuing to pour fire into that Skurg, but it does not appear to be eliminated quite yet.
No, it's very hard to phase that ship, apparently. It seems to be holding its own.
This looks to be an anti-squadron out of that medium transport into the Ghost. And then here's the one on the Gold Squadron. So both hits, continuing to whittle down these squadrons.
Then can't flag up the front, can't flag up the side, can't flag up the rear. He's got to ram anything.
All right, here we go.
Let's mark that guy.
All right, so we're going to get some markings down here as the medium transport that was narrowly missed by the MC-80 now tries to find a way to squeeze out of there without hitting anything unnecessarily.
I have a sinking feeling that it will be taking a lot of fire next turn or next round from that MC80 though. If it's still as close as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it is only in the one arc, so it's going to be important. If that's what it's going to be as the target, you're going to see the, we still have that scatter.
It's true.
So that one shot typically doesn't do it. You need to lay in multiple shots, or you need to bank it on the fact that you're hoping to get an accuracy.
Yeah, he does have a couple re-rolls, I think, so he might be able to pull that accuracy out, but it still would be a very close thing on his part to try to make that work.
Yeah, we see.
I think.
Can't quite tell what that fighter was.
No, I'm not sure. Oh,
all
there we
right.
go with his activation. We're moving on to.
Yeah, looks like we have Nathan doing some quick calculations for firing arcs.
The dial.
So he's going to use his navigate.
Okay, 2 black dice to throw at.
Yeah. Soon she'll be dead.
Oh man.
So I think this is firing at Nora.
He will not Riken her. Well, let me see. Is there anything else to Riken here?
Oh, he might be using his Riken as well.
What about him? Don't worry about you guys. Yeah, so he decides to be very zombie-like. Okay.
So yeah, we decide. So he does decide to use Riken on Nora. So she will be defeated at the end of the round, similar to the Yavaris for Nathan. Nora's, of course, 17 points, but is able to stay around. You might have heard there Yik refer to as she's going to stay zombie-like for the remainder of the round. We see the medium transports just slightly being moved. I think we're going to see an anti-fighter roll here out of the rear. We already saw that.
Yeah, I think
on
we
Nora.
did.
That was what killed Nora. So I think it's back to Yik now.
Let's see, how many activations do we have left here? We've got two activations per side.
I believe so. We've seen we haven't seen the Yavaris go for Nathan, or the medium transport that is kind of in the behind the MC80. So those two haven't gone. I also don't think Nathan's used his strategic advisor this round yet.
Oh, you're right. He might pull back a little bit, which makes me wonder: have both the hammerheads gone?
I don't believe so. I think only
so.
the first hammerhead that destroyed the Yavaris is gone. So we're still looking at
3 from Yik.
Yep. Which looks like he's.
Oh, and he decided to use the MC80 early on, so we probably won't see this at all this turn. Yeah.
That's true.
Or as far as the strategic advisor, that is to say.
Fly over here and attack your guy.
So assuming squadron command being used here. So got another attack coming in. 2 hits with an accuracy. Going to reroll that accuracy. Doesn't need it. 3 damage. And that looks like enough to destroy the Skurg.
Oh, man. Finally, huh?
So that's going to be another 16 points. So, yeah, the Yik whittled that down to the point where it finally was able to get rid of that ship. That was only his first squadron. So we're going to see potentially here. It looks like he's considering the VCX.
Oh man, it's a tough battle here at the end, getting everything you need to points wise right at the end.
Yeah, that extra 16 points there. So we have the 65 points that he's going to get from destroying the Yavaris at the end of the round. We saw the Skurg go down, which is worth 16 points. So we're looking at an additional 81 points for Yik there, on top of what the last score was, which I believe was, yep, okay, so the 74, so the 16's been calculated into that. We're not going to update the score on the Yavaris until it's been removed from the table.
The same for Nora as well.
And the same for Nora. So with Nora being 17, we're looking at 74 points for Nathan right now. But then, of course, another 65. So right now, Yik has a 65-point lead going into this final half hour of the match. Again, those points will be updated as soon as those units leave the board. So make sure you keep an eye on that. And we have, sounds like something
exciting
going on there, but doesn't phase our competitors. They are laser focused in on these final moments, final half hour of this World Championship match, in which one of them gets to take home the greatest prize in gaming.
Yes.
A chance to design a card for future content here at Fantasy Flight Games World Championship event for Star Wars Armada. So yeah, it looks like
we're zeroing in here on the squadron's activation for that ship.
Yep, it's going to definitely have to. Yeah, we got some measurement here.
I think that was a call to see if not Shira Bay. Tornfar was in range.
That ever important reroll.
That's right. Tornfar allows you a reroll if you were within a certain range band, which I believe is distance 1 to 3. And it's a reroll of a blue dice, which, as we've seen this game, is a very prominent and important thing, since most ships come equipped with at least one hull zone that has a blue dice in it.
Yeah, at 7 points, that's very much an include for both of these lists. You can see why both of these players are running Tornfar. There's a lot of blue dice being tossed around here. So we are reaching our final. We are within the last half hour of the match. So we are finishing up this. Again, we are fairly confident that we'll finish this round and then get into the 5th round. But I would be very surprised if they were able to push into a 6th in the limited time they have left.
No, this has been a very methodically progressing game. They have done everything they have to make sure everything is perfectly accurate and precise as they're drilling into each part of their fleets. I think it's been very good to see such expertise on the field as we have this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Both competitors, regardless of who walks out of this this match on top, both competitors have played an absolutely stellar game with incredible precision. Looks like we have a squadron command here. I assume that's off of the that other medium transport. Looks like we're activating the Ghost.
I think so.
So Hera comes sliding in here.
She's a force to be reckoned with, so.
Yeah, always have to be careful. 2 blues, 2 blacks.
She could have bowed into any ship on the field with a good shot. Must be obstructed.
Yeah, it must be an obstructed shot. Get the re-roll in from... So no, maybe not within range of Tornfar at that point. Tornfar must be on the GR-75 in front of the destroyed Yavaris.
I think you're right.
No, actually it wasn't. It looks like didn't need to worry about it. It destroyed the... was there a unit back there that it eliminated?
Possibly. I can't quite tell. It's hard at this angle to see exactly what had happened, but I'm sure we'll know in a moment.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
3 more hits. That is going to put a significant amount of damage in on that Y-Wing squadron back there.
Yeah, these Y-Wings are quite resilient, as we're seeing right now. Able to hold up to a lot of damage.
Fire on my side, a red and a blue into your front.
So we see from the side to the front. So this is the...
I'll lock down your redirect.
So this is an attack on the Hammerhead. Doesn't allow the redirect. with the accuracy. So has to take that in the front, which of course is the most exposed section of the ship.
Especially when taking the MC-80 into account.
Exactly. So double blanks on the red there.
Out.
And now the Yavaris is going to move. It is cruising along, so it'll get to there at 3, but that is where it will end up exploding as the round ends. So those points will be calculated at that point.
Yeah, I'm looking at the field right now, and I see it's leaning a bit into Yick's advantage, which is something that I was not prepared for with the way he was playing defensively earlier. So he definitely had me caught off guard, and it looked like Nathan a little bit. But we will see as Nathan moves in closer what exactly goes down with that looming MC-80 there. It could change the tide.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, since we know that we're going to get one more round here, or at least we assume we're going to get one more round with as much time as left, that means that we have another, that extra round is really going to be where we see if the MC-80 is worth the 152 points that Nathan put into it to try to bring him back from this deficit.
I think point difference considered, if he does manage to take out the GR-75s and that Hammerhead Corvette, it might even the scales back out.
So it looks like 2 damage put on the Ghost there. So Ghost starting to see, Hera and the Ghost starting to see some fire.
Hopefully they're ready to dish it back out here in a minute. Let's see. He does have quite the lineup. Looks like that Hammerhead is going to take a shot at the MC-80.
I mean, go big or go home, right? Like that's your best. It's your best target. You don't shooting anything at the medium transports potentially doesn't get you a whole lot. With that scatter token, you have to be very cognizant of. So.
Ooh, man. There we go. We got a hit off. I don't know. That was on a generic VCX, I believe.
Yes.
All right. It's good to keep tabs on. I think that one's been pretty full of health this whole game. That would be one of the first few damages points on it.
So now we see this medium transport moving through here. I don't really trying to figure out exactly where that's going to land.
You see, with a speed 3 action, it could push past the MC-80, but I don't know if it's going to make it all the way past. It might end up collecting damage off of that.
Yeah, not only that, but it also, obviously, if it ends up ramming, although that does look pretty good, it might just end up landing on those 2 Y-wings, or at least one, the Gold Squadron Y-wing of Nathan's there. Be curious to see if he can get around there with this move.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is always an intense navigation when you're coming around some of your larger base ships, trying to figure out exactly where to locate yourself so that you are the most maneuverable for both ships, not just the large one. And I mean, it's putting him in the way of danger, I think, at this point, almost no matter where he moves.
Yeah.
So many firing arcs are trained on his location.
Yeah, we've definitely come to this point in the match where everything's kind of converging into that center point. It's making it very difficult to maneuver in there.
And before the Yavaris leaves the field, we have but a 3-point difference between
yes.
each group here, which says quite a lot. I guess it would be Yavaris and also
Nora Wexley. Yeah, so we are going to see both points increase there, but we will see that happen when the round ends. We are closing in on our final 21 minutes of the match, so stay tuned. This is definitely going to be an exciting finish here. They're going to kind of scramble to get to this last. It feels like they're in their final activation moments. Squadron's coming up soon.
That is a big ship to have to reposition.
So yeah, it looks like he's going to try. I mean, he's going to try to go around. If he can end up at the 3, trying to do the. It looks like it's going to just clip that corner with that. So I don't know.
I'm pretty worried about this.
Yeah, if that's going to fit. Of course, he can't. As soon as he locks in that tool, that's going to get placed.
Oh, I think you did it.
Yeah, that does look good. Yep.
Oh, there we go. That is a tight maneuver, and that is the reason why these two very professional players are the ones that are left at this point in the game.
Yeah, it looks like it did land on one of the squadrons, so that got repositioned potentially.
I think
to just the back end of the medium transports. I think it was Nora, which obviously isn't not going to affect anything other than this round, since Nora was eliminated. Just waiting on Riken.
Yeah. Well, one thing it did do is it did obstruct the MC-80 shot at that hammerhead. So it will be interesting to see if he can scrounge it out of 5 dice to destroy it.
Well, and you can always choose to move that medium transport before firing, although then obviously there's the concern that the hammerhead might not be there when you do so. So
that's true. It is definitely a game of weighing your costs and balances at this point.
Certainly. And it looks like here is Riken moving his moving a little faster this time. We see him a speed 4, definitely kicked it into high gear. Might have spent, although no, it still looks like that navigate token is on there. So it's been a slow increase and gets him across the battlefield. The interesting point to that to me is while it's obstructed, I believe that's still within medium range. No, it's definitely a long range shot for that MC-80. So I guess it's not quite as much danger as I initially thought.
Yeah, that is only, it would be out of the front arc too, right?
No, it looks like it would be out of the side arc of the MC-80.
Oh, no, you're right.
Here.
That would be out of the side arc, absolutely. That would be 3 red dice, so you're only, and it is obstructed, I think, so you're looking at 2 red dice.
Yeah, 2 red dice, plus you still have shielding on that side. It's been untouched, so you've got 2 shields, 4 health, or 4 hull. So, that's not gonna be able to eliminate it. You have to put more pressure on it than that.
Yeah, that is a bold forward move if it were any other point in the game. But I think with where it sits right now, that was a very safe maneuver.
Sure.
Especially since that tasty GR75 is right within the arc for that MC-80. I don't see it shooting at anything else.
Agreed.
It's basically a guaranteed 19 points or so right now. What is the cost on those? Yeah, 18 points. So.
Oh. So we're, 1 damage card's already out on that, I believe, earlier from a ram, yes?
I think so. And we're just going to crest into the 4th or 5th round by what looks like 16 or 17 minutes.
Yep. So we'll get through round 5, because even after time runs out, we will continue to finish out the round as per tournament rules. So once that ticks over to round 5, they are in round 5 until the end of it. So it looks like we're getting that adjusted now. So we are now in round 5. We have 17 minutes. If they somehow manage to play these in these 17 minutes are able to get to a round 6, even if it's just enough to tick the dial, we will go to a round 6. But with the way that things have been shaking out, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I think we're pretty safely sitting in our last round at this point.
Yep, and you'll see the points have been updated now that Nora Wexley and Yavaris has been removed from the field of play. So we're looking at a fairly substantial lead here by Yik. Although, obviously, with that MC-80 looming in the middle of the battlefield, any major ship loss could start to cut that down. Obviously, those Hammerhead Corvettes are completely empty, so no upgrades, only 36 points apiece. That's not going to be enough to close the gap. You would need some squadrons to go with that. Destroying the... if you somehow managed to use a combination of the MC-80 with some squadrons, and I don't know, there doesn't appear to be a lot on that side of the board for Nathan, but if you manage to pull that off and destroy General Riken, that's a 69-point swing. That would certainly be enough to put him in the lead, but he's going to have to play very aggressively against something like that, and at the same time keep his squadrons or smaller ships alive, so that none of those, so that Yik doesn't score any more points this round.
Nathan might have a better shot of taking out just the rest of Yik's squadrons to see if that will cover the difference. But I don't know if it will. There are two Y-wing squadrons left.
Yeah, it looks like
and
there's
2 VCX bombers.
I believe that's correct. Although we're also looking at a fairly diminished squadron group from Nathan. I believe he only has the Ghost and Gold Squadron left.
Oh, you're right. What about has Jan Ors been terminated at this point?
Yeah, looking at the field of play, I can't find Jan Ors out there. So it looks like she's been eliminated. That may change if we get a better angle on something here. But yeah, it appears as though at this point that's all that's left. So we get the attack roll here. Doesn't want to take the reroll, or might not be within range of Torrin Farr. So going to kill this, but going to keep it around for the end until the end of the round. So it looks like Gold Squadron's been eliminated for Nathan, but he's going to use Riken's ability, keep it in play for the remainder of the round.
That's probably a smart move at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a ship that has potential to do damage. Wow, three more damage rolling in. This looks like it's being put on Hera and the Ghost, or this might be the hidden. No, that's definitely the Ghost.
That's the Ghost, yeah.
So 3 more damage into the Ghost. It does have 8 health total. We definitely saw a couple shots put into it earlier, so I have to imagine it's getting close.
Yeah, that she may be a resilient ship, but every ship has a health cap, I guess, and hers has got to be near. It's a very, very tight match that way.
Very much so. Yeah, so we've got some counter fighter play here.
Ooh.
So this is the Ghost being able to actually get something off before potentially being eliminated.
Yeah, and it's got 3 shots coming in.
Yeah, put 3 shots into that VCX. Again, though, 8 health. It's going to take a lot to be able to whittle down that ship. I don't think that ship's taken any damage up to this point. Or if it had, it looks fairly close to that station for some healing. And it looks like actually that's what the Ghost is going to do. Move there, heal one of those damage.
Try to keep it alive till the end of the match, basically, so that you can't get points off of it.
And
might be his play.
You might have heard there Nathan calling out that at this point it becomes an obstructed shot, so that'll also help Hera and the Ghost chances of survival to the end of the round.
That is true. Looks like Hera is sitting at 2 health, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that does appear to be right. And there was just a quick question there. Yik wondering how he was able to pull out of that because he was engaged with one of the VCXs, but the VCX is a heavy, so it does allow Hera to move out. And in addition to that, she has grit.
Yeah, that is it's a potent combination, which really, really allows her to push through to wherever Hera needs to go on the battlefield. Let's see what's going on now.
So this looks like Gold Squadron is going to make a move towards potentially that hammerhead, to continue to pour fire into that front shield system. It only had 2. We saw it get hit earlier. 2 more hits put in. So you're going to get the redirect defense token and take the 1 on the side, and I think I saw 1 on the front.
Oh man.
So that now has 2 sides that do not have any shields. And here comes the medium transport, just getting out of the way. So that creates that unobstructed shot for the MC-80. I imagine now this is the point where Yick's going to activate that hammerhead. We'll see if it's in a position to be able to retreat and get out of that arc.
Yeah, I don't see too much hope for that hammerhead coming out of this situation, but it is still not that many points for Nathan, so I think that will still keep Yick in the lead.
Yeah, no, the 36 points on the hammerhead is still not going to be enough. Maybe both hammerheads. He does get a second shot out of that other arc. He does look like he has that other hammerhead in sight. It might not even be an obstructed shot. It's hard to tell at this angle, but it's possible that medium transport is not actually blocking the dot-to-dot line needed when drawing for line of sight.
You know, I think you're right, and I think it is within medium.
So that means it gets to use its full complement of 6 dice, 3 red, 3 blue.
So we'll see if that is Nathan's play of action. That could be the other nail in the coffin for those ships, and that would get us to a fairly close game at this point.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Yick is waiting on 12 points. He'll get those at the end of the round. Gold Squadron was destroyed, so he's being brought up to, essentially 151. If Nathan were able to, which he just destroyed, looks like he just destroyed Dutch. So that's another 16 points for Nathan, getting a little bit closer. Now a 36-point hammerhead brings it exactly to a tied game. But again, keep in mind, with Gold Squadron destroyed, Yick will move up to 151. So it's a 12-point difference that would have to be overcome if he can destroy that hammerhead.
Well, even at that point, if he can take out the GR-75 that's sitting in his side arc.
Yeah, absolutely. Which means he's going to be banking on accuracy. Now he does have those blues. Blues love to, they have a good chance of rolling accuracy.
And you have Torn Far as well, so he does have that 1 reroll. It is gutsy, but I think it's doable. The real question is if the GR-75 will be moving faster than he is, because that does give him the quad battery turret's modification upgrade, which lets him add 1 more blue die to his attack pool. In this case, that could be vital to the game.
Absolutely, yeah. We see here as we get into these final moments, this last round that we're going to be playing, very tight, very close. Everything's being mathed out to end up where this is going to be a very close finish for either competitor.
Looks like we're rolling something.
We're rolling them not in the tray, but so we're going to move the results there. So it's a hit using the Torn Far into a second hit.
What was that to? Looks like a squadron of some kind.
I think that actually was Jan Ors. I think you were right. Jan Ors still on the table.
There she is.
And I heard counter 2, so that returned fire on that VCX.
Doing a little bit of damage. I don't know how much health it has left. That one's been peppered at for quite a while. I can't quite get a read from here.
Yeah, and those VCXs worth 15 points, so that would also be another way to victory. Knocking out a VCX along with the Hammerhead Corvette, keeping Yick from scoring any more points. That could be the path to victory for Nathan. So we see here Yick doing the calculus. So we see more convergence on that. So shooting it, I think Jan Ors was where Yik pointed. Jan Ors, of course, 19 point. So nothing there. Using Torn Far for the reroll. Nothing there. No damage. Jen still gets the counter. Does 1 damage back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, see clarification from the judge, just making sure.
1, 2, and then
Yeah, we got the just checking all those angles for shots.
Jeez. This is a tight game here.
Yeah, well, kind of letting the competitors banter, go back and forth, if you can hear that, just to see.
Oh. Looks like someone's rolling for a hit.
So we got a hit with Torn Far into an accuracy, so it's just going to be the 1. Jan Ors takes another hit, manages to continue to survive.
I wonder, we're going to see a counter from that?
I believe I thought I had heard mention that had already been destroyed and taken Riken's ability, but...
Oh, in which case the counter would do nothing.
Correct.
But that does mean we would be adding a
Points.
VCX point-wise to Nathan, which does bring it ever closer.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's with the with those points that actually does put Nathan, I believe, and we'll have to double check our math, but I believe with everything there being destroyed, it's potential that that could put Nathan slightly in the lead. We see the judge here making sure that I believe we're getting down to the last 4.5 minutes of the round.
It's definitely been a very exciting round, this one.
Absolutely, I should say of the match. We got some line of sight checking here. We've got an explanation by the judge in regards to something. Looks like a firing arc question.
Oh, it looks like he's activating the MC-80.
So this is a big moment because all those fighters...
Oh, nope, he's...
Oh, no.
Never mind. Ha! We got ahead of ourselves. We were very excited over here. He is getting that that GR-75 or Galfrey out of range, though, so that those two flotillas can't really be hit at all. I think it's a play for safety.
And you can see a little bit of a pace increase here. I don't know if these players are trying to squeeze in this final match or this final round in. You see 2 more hits there.
Oh, I think we just saw Jan Ors is still alive.
Still alive.
Wow.
So Jan Ors using those brace tokens to effect. You saw looked like Nathan reached down, cut that in half down to 1. Jen has to be sitting at 1 health, I would imagine, because the Moldy Crow only has 4 health, 4 hull, so that has to be coming down soon. He cannot save her with the Riken ability that's already been used on Gold Squadron. We see the Riken CR-90 come through and potentially, I imagine, get in medium range of the MC-80.
I would imagine it's medium range, but it still has that obstruction.
Yeah,
so
it definitely is obstructed.
It may be a very tasty shot, but if they don't make it into the next round, he'll probably have to take out that Galfrey just to make sure he gets those points, or the GR-75, just to make sure he gets those points.
We're down to the last 2.5 minutes here. If they don't finish this round in that time, then we will finish out the round afterwards. If they manage to squeeze in the end of this round into the next 2 minutes and change, then we will get to play a full 6th round. So it looks like there's some questions going on, though, so I don't think that's going to end up happening. I think this is going to be the final round.
Especially not with what appears to be 2 or 3 activations left. Three activations left.
Yeah, it looks like 3 activations left. And honestly, you don't want to rush this. Both of these sides are very, you know, they want to make sure that nothing here gets rushed to the point where they miss something key to their potential victory.
Oh no, yeah, it's worth it to not have that extra round and just finish this round right, I think.
So yeah, now it looks like it's the MC80. It is medium range.
Here we go.
We're going to see this big shot. This is going to be a very important moment for the game here.
Oh man.
He is attacking this hammerhead. If this gets destroyed, it is an additional 36 points.
We almost missed the dice dragon. Here we go.
Wow.
Oh.
That is
dead.
that is a dead hammerhead.
Wow.
So with that destroyed, that's an additional 36 points. And just doing the quick math, it looks like that would put that definitely would put Nathan in the lead coming out of this round. So we get the second shot. I didn't quite hear where he was targeting. This is out of the other arc of the MC80.
Let's see. Okay, Tornfar reroll, I think is what I just heard.
Yep.
Oh man. Oh, that's a crit. That may not be what he wanted.
That is a crit, but if this is against one of the, if this is against the one of the medium transport, if this is against medium transport, he's looking for your accuracy to get rid of that scatter.
Oh, he's got one more reroll, I think.
Yeah, definitely looks like he's as best he can trying to get an accuracy. Nope, that scatter token gets used. It stops the stops that from happening.
Man,
so no damage
4
on that second shot. Yep, 4 rerolls. Not a single accuracy on those. We see now time has run out, so this will be the final round. You'll see the points currently tied, 139-139. We do have 12 more points going to Yik after the Gold Squadron calculation, but we have an additional
32,
16, I believe,
16
coming to Nathan off of the destroyed VC. I'm sorry, 15 off the destroyed VCX. So I don't know. We'll have to take a look because at 103 he destroyed the 36 points, brings it to the.
That should be current, yeah.
Yep, current. So yeah, tied here. No time left. Final round. You cannot ask for a better game for a finals match for Armada.
This has been phenomenal. It's an amazing end. You can see the value of having an MC80, but the danger it also presented in taking so long to get up to the battle.
Yeah, it wasn't very effective until the very end here. One more round, if we had gotten into a 6th round, perhaps it could have done, been more effective and been, worth it. So it's going to be a matter of seeing, is this going to be where something else gets taken out and flips the points the other way. By my calculations, we're going to have Nathan winning by 3 points. Because again, 12 points to Yik for the destroyed Gold Squadron that'll come off. And they called the final match. I believe that's the case.
Man. Let's see what it's at.
So they're going to double check points. It's that close. So they're going to update everything. Again, my calculations, I believe we see Nathan win. I hear a chant of USA from the crowd surrounded, so I believe they've also done the calculations, but everyone's going to do one quick final tally, make sure all the points have been calculated. But if I'm doing my math correctly, it will be 151 points to Yik, and it will be 154 points to Nathan. But we'll get an updated score here shortly. They're certainly doing their calculations.
The privilege of watching them do the math on the field right now.
Yep, you can see all of the all that going on here behind the scenes. just making sure all that calculation is correct. I mean, you could not ask for a closer finals match. Such impressive skill shown by both of our competitors, to where it has to be a double checking of all math to make sure that we have determined a winner. Again, it looks like.
Did we forget about the fighter ambush as well? I think there was a token gain from that in there.
Oh, yeah, it sounded like there was one there at the
end, right when he hit that hammerhead the last time.
So now the calculation has to be done here again. No, it looks like we're still waiting for confirmation on final score. They're doing all of the...
Doing all the extra math.
See them as they put away. And both competitors so stoic. You can't see either one of them giving away the fact that one of them has just won the World Championship. And we're going to get the score put up here as soon as it is finalized, final calculations. So if you look at that, it is... So it is a calculation of 151 to 151. But as since Nathan was second player, it means that he will take the win. And that win is, yeah, so you see, it again, could not ask for a closer moment. We see a finals match that ends in a tie, 151 points to both sides, and it comes down to Nathan was our second player. Therefore, in the tie-breaking rules, he is the new world champion.
Wow, to break a tie in finals, what an incredible match that was.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have asked for two better competitors putting together these lists, coming out here. It is a testament to their skill that we've reached this conclusion, and they were basically equally matched in this event. So congratulations to Nathan being the 2018 Star Wars Armada champion. This was the last. This is the last match of the evening, but we will have interviews with both the runner-up and the winner coming up next. So stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back with those interviews. Hey everyone, I am here with Star Wars Armada runner-up Su Yik Ao, and he is, we're going to do a quick interview with him. How are you doing today?
Very good. You can call me Yik, though. That's my nickname.
Okay, I will call you Yik. So Yik, give me a walkthrough of what it is that was going through your mind through that game, how you approached it, what you were trying to do.
Well, basically last night, I actually had nightmares about actually facing Nathan and his fleet. He's a very good player, cool as a cucumber, and this is my least favorite matchup right now. What I was trying to do was to win the squadron war, and basically once the squadrons are done, it's just a matter of bombing and trying to score a few more points. But Nathan is very canny. It didn't give up any points that he had to, so he basically tried to avoid doing anything. Plus, I had some bad rolls, and then he had some bad rolls that made it so that the game was very close at the end.
Nathan
honestly, it is the tightest game of Armada I've ever played, and honestly, Nathan is one of the best players I've ever played with.
Yeah, I think everyone at home watching was so impressed by the play of both of you. Keeping the game that close, coming down into a tie. I don't think we've ever done a World Championship event to a tie. So the big thing that I was wondering was what do you think, looking back now in hindsight, you could have done differently that might have altered the course of the battle?
So a big mistake for me was not to move my smaller capitalist ships right into the middle of their capitalist ships. Because then I could use them for flak. That's what I really needed, was 1 or 2 more damage when I was just a tiny amount. If I had done that, then I would be able to score maybe another 40-something points. Now, Nathan got really unlucky. He couldn't kill Bright Hope with 2 separate attacks with a whole bunch of rerolls. And I'm like, it should be dead. Why isn't it dead yet? So, there was a lot of luck swing both ways. But in terms of strategy, he had a very good strategy, and I should have just thrown my capital in earlier.
Absolutely. Well, again, congratulations on the incredible play. Really was impressive to watch and really a lot of fun to do commentary for. So thank you for that. You're going to be back next year?
Almost guaranteed.
Awesome. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for your time. And Yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now I will be bringing up World Champion 2018, Nathan Koda. So we'll bring him up here. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing pretty well.
You look pretty good for someone who just won Worlds.
It's been a long day, but yeah, hopefully okay.
So tell me a little bit about what you did to prepare for this event and how that preparation kind of worked towards what we saw as a result on the table.
Sure. So I've been running variations of Riken lists with aces for a long time, so that helped a lot. Lots of local tournaments. Immediately prior to this tournament, we got a small group of all of us that are going to Worlds from Chicago together. And that group kind of played for a couple weekends, getting like 2 or 3 games in, really kind of hammering through the lists and the different archetypes. So really just practice and throwing the same list down and again doing the same kind of things, so you get that repetition in, right? Absolutely,
yeah. We've heard that from a couple of our World Championships now. Practice seems to play a big part. When you went into this match, you're looking at what was across the table. What were you trying to do, and how well do you think you executed it?
So he had some really strong anti-squadron power with Corrin and Tenum and Dutch. So my goal was to take those 3 out so I'd have freedom to do actual real things. That's why I spent a couple rounds just focusing those guys down. But he played really well, honestly. Like, super impressed. I really expected his stuff to accelerate into my MC80, but he just kept slow, kept being patient. So he played a really, really tight game.
Was there at any point, watching back doing commentary for the match, there was a point where we wondered if the MC80 was going to be able to get in there with how kind of slow play it was? Were you worried at all that at the end of the day that MC80 might not have gotten in range to do a whole lot, or was it something you were kind of like, no, eventually it'll get there and I'll be fine?
Oh yeah, it's going to get there. I've played that enough, and it's got a pretty good reach, right? And when it wants to move, it can move okay. But you really kind of want it to hit around turn 4, 5, 6 so that you don't get wore down too much. It doesn't have any defensive retrofits. It's kind of running light. It's holding the Admiral, so if you lose it, you're kind of out, right? Sure. So, big deal.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, because this is always the big question. Without revealing too much, do you have an idea for what you will do for the greatest prize in gaming with the designing your own card with the help of the designers?
Sure. Well, I really like tokens, and I'd like to see more tokens being used. So I'd love to play with something that does interesting things with tokens, maybe spending them. There's some tokens that don't have a lot of things that you spend them for, like concentrate fire tokens, which could be really interesting and cause some unique effects. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, great. Well, again, congratulations on your win. An incredible match, incredible skill play. So really hope to see you back next year.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. All right, so this is going to conclude all of our Armada events for the weekend. So stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for X-Wing. Have a good night, everybody. I'm Jim Cartwright for Fantasy Flight Games.